Again, the chair, Ed. Again, it's the chair. This is why I stood up for the last bleeping 10 years. Chair. I blame this one on Wes. There we go. All right. Halftime show. Tyler's here. Ed Bird in for Dave. I actually talked to Dave today. He needed bail money. I don't know what it's about. I have no clue. Didn't ask. I don't want to ask because if I ask, then I become an accomplice. I don't like that. Don't want to do that. So, Dave, we think will be back Monday, but our buddy Ed Bird making sure we got the show cooking. Tyler's here. We're having one of our little station staff get-togethers we do every, 3 months, roughly. And what I've learned about these is if you offer food, more people show up. So we got a little food thing going. Tyler's grabbing something to eat. And he'll be back in here in a minute as we had our little get-together out in our first floor. Looks a lot better now that we tore down all the cubes. It looked like we were a bunch of telemarketers. Just saying. But anyway. All right, so halftime show. Look, today, Colin Murray-Boyles, this time tomorrow, Colin Murray-Boyles will know where he's going to play in the NBA. He will be a first-round pick, where you see so many different things. I feel like Colin Murray-Boyles will go somewhere between 10 and 20. He could go a little higher. I don't think he drops any lower than 20. So I think between 10 and 20 will be the sweet spot for CMB. We've talked about this, and it doesn't take a genius to go look up NBA scouting reports on Colin Murray-Boyles. I mean, and you've seen it watching him play. He brings a ton of positives. He can, especially defensively, he can guard three positions on the floor in the NBA. Colin Murray-Boyles will be able to guard. He won't be able to guard the point guards. He won't be able to guard centers, but he'll be able to guard shooting guards, small forwards, and power forwards. He is, height-wise, that's an issue, but his wingspan's pretty good. He's got really quick hands, whether it comes to steals, deflections in the passing lanes, whatever. He brings a lot defensively. He rebounds well. On the offensive end of the court, you can run offense through Colin Murray-Boyles. He's a good passer. I heard somebody talk about the turnovers because, remember, last year, Colin Murray-Boyles led South Carolina in points, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals, and turnovers. Why? Because he had the ball so much. Why? Well, because they needed to run the offense through him. Why? Because you didn't have a true point guard to run the offense. So Colin Murray-Boyles was asked to do a ton on the offensive end of the court. And to be quite honest, he was probably being asked to do too much on the offensive end of the court last year, which leads you to, when you're being asked to do too much, Tyler, what happens at times?
That can overwork you a little bit.
Yeah. And so Colin Murray-Boyles, to be fair, will not be asked to do all this in the NBA. But you get the ball to Colin Murray-Boyles, he will pass the ball well,
sure,
and you can run offense through him at times.
And I don't think anybody's looking at him as like, all right, we're going to draft him. He's going to be a day one kind of guy. There's going to be a development process, maybe some time in the G League. Obviously, he's and you can't make somebody grow more. The size is a little bit of a concern. Okay, he's 6'7", I think, officially listed. So that's something that you need to kind of work around a little bit there. And obviously that shooting ability from the outside isn't quite where they probably want it to be. And again, we knew that's something he had in his back pocket here at South Carolina that we never saw come to fruition too much. So is that something that whatever team he goes to can get more out of him with him? We'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, you can't stretch him. You could try. You can't stretch him to 6'9".
You get a taffy puller?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But what you can do with him, look, a lot of guys learn how to shoot threes or get better at shooting threes. You get to the NBA, how many classes do you go to during the day?
There'd be none.
Yeah, you know what
Just
you can
like
do
in
all
North
day?
Carolina.
Exactly. Well, you can fake going to class in North Carolina. What you do is you can just lock yourself in a gym and shoot threes.
Exactly, all day long.
And Colin Murray-Boyles, if Colin Murray-Boyles has the want to extend his career, Al Horford stand out at the three-point line hitting 35% from three.
Well, and that's what Chris brought up in the last hour. And for the early part of his NBA career, that wasn't really part of his game. That's something that actually came on later. Because, again, if you have that ability, it's something that can be improved upon with time.
And you watch Al Horford shoot a three. Again, it's not some smooth delivery. He holds the ball a little low. go, he kind of has not a hitch, but he takes a second and he shoots a three. So it's not like this smooth, natural shooting
But
stroke.
if that works for him.
But it works for him. That's my point. My point is, you can make yourself a better three-point shooter even if you aren't supernatural at shooting from that distance. So Colin Murray-Boyles can do it. Look, he wasn't a good three-point shooter in high school. He wasn't a good three-point shooter in college. I think part of it, watching Colin Murray-Boyles last year, wasn't so much shot mechanics or this or that, confidence.
Yeah.
If you watched him shoot a three last year, how many times you see him get the ball at the three-point line and hesitate?
Yeah.
He would hesitate.
Yeah.
And he would reload
he's
it
thinking
2 or 3
about it.
times. He's thinking about it.
Yeah. And the league, you just got to shoot.
You got to shoot it. And that's part of rhythm. So that's the other part too, is when you're hesitating 2 or 3 times, you have no rhythm.
And that's why, kind of going back to Paris's comments, coming away from his first year, when we heard about, hey, he's got this ability to shoot these threes. Well, there's a difference between doing it in practice and scrimmaging against your teammates and doing it when the lights are bright, playing against a top 10 team in the SEC. Like, he was not able to step up to that moment or didn't feel comfortable enough in that moment to do it, and the coaching staff didn't feel comfortable enough letting him do it.
And I think comfortable is if you watched him hoist up threes, he didn't look comfortable in games. And look, I knew a guy, you talk about in practice. There was a guy, a buddy of mine, played sports with growing up, and Kenny was the greatest practice player in the history of the world.
Practice MVP.
He would go out and practice, pick the sport. Yeah. I mean, baseball, basketball, soccer.
We used to call those batting cage heroes in baseball.
Absolutely. I mean, my buddy, he would go out there and in practice, he would rake in baseball. I mean, shortstop, he'd pick it. He was a Hall of Famer in practice. Practice Hall of Famer. Basketball, wouldn't miss anything. You put him in any game, guess what happened?
Yeah.
My man started thinking.
You almost had to kind of trick him into thinking it was practice.
Exactly. I mean, and because the mind can get you. And I think with Colin Murray-Boyles, I'm not saying this is the only reason that he has struggled from three.
Sure.
I think one of the biggest reasons is he's not confident and comfortable out there. Now, if he had a game, and sometimes it's all it takes, if he had a game where he went out there and let's say he nailed 3 out of 4. Guess what? Now you start to get confident you can make that shot. Now you're going to not hesitate. You're going to take that pass and you're going to take the shot. You're not going to hold it and hesitate because you really don't want to take it. You're going to take that shot because now you're confident.
Yep.
I think that's part of Colin Murray-Boyles' issue. And I think if he can get more confident, if he gets with the right team who will work him out at the three-point line, because look, if CMB can extend his game to the three-point line with everything else he can do for you, that takes him to the next level in the NBA. If he can't extend his game, look, he's still going to be a nice, useful role player.
And again, as long as you hang around the league, you're going to be paid very handsomely to do so, no matter what your role is going to be. So, yeah, he's going to be fine. And going back to the way that he ended his time here at Carolina, where, again, not even halfway through the conference play, we knew this team wasn't playing for anything. They're not a tournament team. They weren't going to go on some kind of crazy run in the SEC tournament. And if he, decided to go through the motions in those last couple games, say, you know what, I'm protecting myself. I don't want to get injured. No, I'm going to be a first-round pick. Nobody would have blamed him because, I get it, dude. You're going to be a first-round pick and you're playing on a terrible team. But he went out there and gave it 110%. Was the catalyst for why they were able to win a couple games in the conference towards the end of the year. And like you said, left it literally everything on the court in that last game. And that's the lasting memory people are going to have of him. Like, that guy didn't give up, gave 110% even on a team that wasn't playing for anything. And I think that endears him to a lot of people at the next level, too. Like, hey, this guy's going to work hard no matter what we ask him to do.
You remember we came in after that loss to Arkansas, and one of the first things we talked about was you see the effort that Colin Murray-Boyles gave.
Yep.
In a game he did not have to give effort at all. Our guy, they had to take him off on a stretcher by the end of that thing. He was getting beaten and battered and bruised. And so if I'm the NBA, if I'm an NBA exec, and I get the height, I get the lack of a three-point shot, I get all of it. But when I watch that guy, and I see I see a player who has no reason to, and really, in a way, you watch this going, hey, you're going to be a first-round pick.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
And nothing in that game would have improved his draft stock.
No, nothing.
You know what I mean? Like, he didn't have anything to gain in that game.
And he probably gave 210% in that game.
Yes.
And if I'm an NBA exec watching, if I'm a scout watching that is going on my pad in big, big letters. Effort, competitiveness, drive, want to. And I think that means a lot.
And when you talk to Lamont Paris or any coaches that have had him in the past, and look, every coach is going to hype their guy up and say he's a hard worker, does this and does that. You have the evidence to see it on film, too. It's like, okay, Paris says this guy works hard in practice. I see that out on the court. I know I'm getting that out of him when I draft him.
I've always said this. What do you do when things suck?
Yeah, when nobody's looking.
Yeah, what do you do? What do you do when you're on a team that is underachieving? Is the season is like over after almost like the first 2 weeks of SEC play?
Yeah.
How do you react? What do you do? Do you grind? Do you play hard? Are you still competitive? Do you still have that drive? Or are you like, dude, I'm putting this thing in neutral and getting the NBA draft in one piece?
Sure.
I mean, that was Ben Simmons at LSU. I mean,
Yeah.
and again, I got why Ben Simmons was number 1 overall. I'd have taken Ben Simmons number 1 overall. He was 19 years old. You don't know what a 19, 20-year-old is going to be when they get 25. But my point is, Colin Murray Boyles is fighting and trying to win.
Sure.
Ben Simmons was like, look, dude, I just want to put up some stats and get to the NBA. Besides that, you guys can go lose all you want.
I don't think he went to class either, by the way.
Ben Simmons?
Yeah.
I guarantee you Ben Simmons has no idea where the classes were at LSU. He knew where
Probably
the
not.
gym.
You know how to get to the gym and
Yeah.
where they eat.
Yeah, exactly. Where's the training table,
Yeah.
bro? So, I mean, that to me, that means something with Colin Murray Boyles is what are you doing when no one's looking, and what are you doing when things suck?
Yeah.
Everybody's a leader when things are great and you're winning,
Great.
right?
Everybody's happy.
Everybody's out there doing everything when you're winning. What are you doing when you're losing?
Yep.
Because a lot, especially in this world today, where college basketball is so transient. I mean, really, you're a bunch of grifters and nomads.
Yep.
I mean, there are guys who are 1 or 2 and done, go to the NBA draft. There are guys who, the minute your team goes sideways, they're talking to their representative, can you get me in the portal, get me the hell out of here.
Yep.
Colin Murray Boyles said, man, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to try to win every game. Who's with me?
Yep.
And I think, look, he's not a vocal leader. He's not like an intense, fiery guy. But that example he was leading by, I think, is one of the reasons why that team, even though they got whooped and got beat and it was a terrible year, you watched it and you didn't go like this, oh, these cats have quit. They just didn't quit. They just weren't good enough. But I think part of that was Colin Murray Boyles going out there. Because, look, your best player might not be the leader, the vocal guy, but your best player can lead by his example.
Yes.
And Colin Murray Boyles going out there and playing with his hair on fire for the entire year when there was nothing to play for, I think was one of the reasons why those guys, nobody was rolling over. They just weren't good enough to win games.
Absolutely.
So we'll hear a little Colin Murray Boyles coming back, talking about suits. Because you know what's important tonight, Tyler?
Got to have the fit. Got to look good.
Got to look good, man. We'll get into that next. Ed Bird's punching the buttons. Tyler Heads here. It's Terry Ford. We're rolling the halftime show. We do it till 3 here on the game. Where we got this fried chicken at? That's good, man. I'm a fan. Whatever we've done.
It's nice to have that in the breaks. Or with the entertainment for the party that's happening outside.
Yeah, everybody looks in, kind of watches us talk.
Well, like Leslie, when she brings people around, new hires and people
Our
like
sales
that,
manager, yep.
she kind of treats us like animals at the zoo. Where she's like, and here is the sports radio exhibit.
I love the idea, which is like when you guys are in there producing. I hear the people that punch the buttons and keep us on the radio.
Yeah, we turn the commercials on. That's what she says.
We turn the commercials on. A little bit more than that, but thanks, Les.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
I like to think our job's a little more intricate than that.
Right.
I think Ed Bird would agree with me.
And this is Timmy. Timmy's punching the buttons to make sure the commercial, but really it's Tyler, but don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal.
It's cool. You get the first letter right.
You
That's
got
all.
the T.
That's all that matters.
That's what matters. All right. Well, we continue on to talk about Colin Murray Boyles. Ed Bird, and I should have told you this during the break, we were all eating chicken, so I apologize. Go to yesterday's cuts for me. Lamont Paris was talking about Colin Murray Boyles. I forget what cut this is.
I believe it's cut number 10 from yesterday.
Cut number 10 from yesterday, Ed Bird. We want to hear what Lamont, and, again, because, look, we all know if you follow any of this stuff like drafts, you know that the scouts and the organizations will call the head coach and say,
Yes.
"Hey, bro, what's up with this? What's up with your player?" And there have been and very rarely does a coach throw his guy under the bus. One of the greatest examples of not throwing a guy under the bus was Mike Price at Washington State for Ryan Leaf.
Yep.
Mike Price, Ryan Leaf, phenomenal guy, great leader. He's off the field, he's a gem.
No off the field issues at all, Coach.
Zero, none, no.
You sure about that?
No, he leads Bible study every Sunday.
You sure?
Yeah, positive.
How many drug tests you give him during the week?
We drug test him every half hour. That's what we do.
All right, Coach, we'll take him on your word.
Yeah, the NFL folks weren't especially the Chargers, weren't very happy that they didn't get, quote unquote, all the truth.
I think we learned Mike Price had an issue with honesty as time went on.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, Mike, don't use the company credit card moving forward.
Yeah.
You never. I mean.
By the way, if he uses any other credit card,
he's fine.
the history of college football changes forever.
Nick Saban's not
Nick
at Bama.
Saban never goes to Bama.
Right. I mean, think about all this. It's crazy. Mike Price uses his own credit card or whatever. Why don't you have a burner card? If you're going to be that guy doing that stuff, have a burner card.
Cash.
Yeah.
Dude,
how about that?
You're a FBS head coach. I know you got it on you.
You might have a few, and you know what? I think that you can. You have that much available.
Yes.
Just
or
saying.
don't leave the card with the woman in the room.
Or talk to Hugh Freeze how to do this stuff.
Well, that was before.
I think Hugh probably had.
I think you actually learned from him. Okay,
I'm not doing that.
I'm not going to let him trace it back to me.
All right, so Colin Murray Boyles obviously will be picked in the first round tonight. Here is Lamont Paris talking about what the NBA is getting with Colin Murray Boyles.
I just had a conversation 2 days ago with a team that told me they were going to potentially be in a position to trade up to where they would be in his draft window, and that I looked really smart because that just happened. And so, they may or may not take him, but the conversations I had was about who he is as a player, and this guy's going to owe me a percentage of his salary when this is all said and done, if you could hear these conversations that I have with these guys. But the beauty of that is that I tell them the truth, and I think that's why they continue to call me, because they know I'm not in the business of gaslighting at all. I want them to trust what I say, but I tell them the truth. And what I continue to tell all these teams is that it's always you're drafting guys on ceiling, and and a lot of times they want to draft a guy that maybe one day, even if he's a higher risk guy, maybe one day he's got a chance to be MVP of the league. You're looking for that. But I recommend to these guys to draft Colin not on his ceiling, but draft him on his floor, because his floor is it would surprise me. Now, this is saying a lot, because I watched last night's game, and Hartenstein was at the free throw line, and they said in the G League, he was in the G League finals, and he made 8 threes, and had a triple-double and was the MVP. And then he's got a small offensive role for Oklahoma City. Big role in general, but a small offensive role. So I say this with a grain of salt or three, but like once Colin learns, and I don't profess to know the NBA like that, but once Colin learns how to move in the NBA, what the rules are, the rule changes, there are different rules. Once he learns those things, I think any team that gets him is going to be shocked at how viable an option he would be to actually put in a game.
Yeah, look, like we said, Colin Murray Boyles at the worst will be a really solid role player in the NBA.
Right.
A glue type of guy, a guy that, can give you some grit and toughness on D, and he can, you can run the offense through him at times on off, at the other end of the court. And he's going to rebound for you on both ends. And, again, some of the plays he finished in the SEC going to the rack, he's not going to be able to finish like that in the NBA with, big, large, tall, athletic human beings trying to block everything. But
the fact that he's not afraid to get in there.
And he can carve a nice career if he never expands his game offensively to the three-point line.
Sure.
If he does, now you've got a different conversation.
Yeah.
Now he goes next level as a player in the league. So, and a lot of things, Lamont Paris said are true about Colin Murray Boyles. I mean, there's a high basketball IQ with Colin Murray Boyles. There's a lot of positives. And by the way, the team's the Phoenix Suns.
Mm-hmm.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the trade was made. I look really smart. Thanks a lot. Way to go. But look, and in Phoenix, look, Matt Ishbia as an owner has been a disaster. Let's just be honest. But these guys will come in, they're bazillionaires. Oh, you watch me. Watch me go. I'm going to change this league. Yeah. I'm going to make a lot of big splashy moves. Okay. Mm-hmm. Most of them aren't going to work. And if you just go in there throwing money at everything and not understanding about team building and what you have to do to win in the NBA today, then you're going to end up like Phoenix.
Yeah.
You were a team that had just recently been in the NBA Finals, and you had a nice core, and you went star hunting, and you screwed up everything. And that was on the owner.
Yeah.
So Ishbia, now the word is Phoenix is trying to bring in guys more who play D and have a grittiness and a toughness to them. And you saw them get Dylan Brooks, who he's gritty and tough, and Dylan Brooks is also annoying and goes way too far and gets technicals, but he's got an edge to him. And Colin Murray Boyles, again, defensively is going to be really good. He's going to lock down, he's going to lock down his share of guys in the NBA, and he brings a grit and a toughness to the defensive end of the court. So I could see Phoenix taking him because, again, they got Devin Booker. Unfortunately for them, they got Jalen Green. Good luck with that. So they got guys who are going to hoist shots. Now they need guys who can do some of the things you need to actually do to win games besides just hoist shots. So I can see Colin Murray Boyles going there. Do I think it's the best place for Colin Murray Boyles? From what I've seen of Matt Ishbia, no. Mm-hmm. If you want to go win and be with an organization that is good.
I would say their window is closed.
Oh, it's slam shut.
Yeah.
The window's broke, Tyler.
Yeah.
The window is shattered. And they're going to be starting over. But I would personally, selfishly, I'd love to see Colin Murray Boyles getting taken by Oklahoma City.
Sure, and there's a chance for that.
And there's a chance for that. There's some other organizations that would be good to see him go to that I think would benefit him, just from being on a winner and a good organization that knows what they're doing and can develop players.
Yeah, you want to see him go to a place where he can be successful, a team can be successful, and hopefully enjoy a nice long career. So we'll see.
All right, but the most important thing tonight, where you get drafted, fine, but what you're wearing.
Yeah, the fit.
The fit. Let's get to today's cut list there, Ed Bird. We're going to grab cut 6. Now, I don't think, Colin Murray Boyles, from what we know from Colin Murray Boyles, he doesn't look like a flashy guy.
No, I don't. I at least don't recall seeing him do anything extravagant.
He's not going to go, Grady Dick?
No. Oh, my God. What was he wearing last year? Was it a sequin or something?
It was vile. It was wrong. I can see Colin Murray Boyles being nicely understated, but stylish.
Yes.
Make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so let's get this real quick. Colin Murray Boyles talking about his suit game. Cut 6, Ed.
You're the only one to come in a full suit. Why?
Yeah, you look great.
I got a lot of suits. Might as well show them up.
It's got lots of suits.
Crazy face, game face. Yeah, do that. Hold the ball here. Hold the ball here.
Lots of suits.
I don't know if that was her voice right there or somebody that was at that photo shoot, but do you think Chloe has an influence on what he's wearing where he's like, I don't know, I'll just wear whatever? No, you're getting drafted in the first round. We're going to look good.
You're not wearing that to draft night, are you? You're not wearing that.
How many times have you picked out an outfit and your significant other's like, no, put it back. I'll take care of this.
I'll get the like my girlfriend will look at me because I know you're stunned by this. I'm not a fashionista.
Neither am I. We're dressed the same today, by the way.
I'm a guy. I have jeans. I have button-down shirts that I wear on tucks. I can't stand tucking a shirt.
Yep.
And then they buy me dress shoes. I am basically everything I have has been bought by others who know what's going on.
Right.
But when I throw something on myself, my girlfriend will just stare at me and she's like, "Forget leaving the house. You're not leaving the bedroom
Like
wearing that.
That doesn't match.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We're not wearing that." And that's what she'll say to me. We're not wearing that.
We're not wearing that. Because
she's
you're
like,
embarrassing her
right,
if you wear it.
You are not going to walk with me and embarrass me with those ridiculous clothes you're about to put on.
I've been there too.
You know, she gave me grief. First time her and I went to lunch, I'll give you this one real fast. I was wearing black, like gym socks with my shorts.
Oh, no.
She said, don't do that ever again.
Yikes.
We're not dating ever again. All right, just in case you just woke up, next here on The Game. Men's Clinic of South Carolina is here to help you if you're a guy and you just you don't have your fastball anymore, lack of sleep, you're just not strong like you used to be at the gym, you don't recover from workouts very well anymore, you don't have any life drive, sex drive, professional drive, personal drive, you're driveless. You can't remember where you put stuff, you can't remember what you were going to say to somebody, you look at somebody and go, you know, what? I can't remember. But if I remember, I'll text you. It could just be low T, low testosterone. It's that easy. One way to find out, you call 803-875-MENS, the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. You set an appointment with Dr. Dan and the staff. You go in, you tell them your story. If they think it could be low testosterone, they'll do some lab work. If it is low T, they'll put you on a program specifically designed for you to get you back to feeling good again like you. 803-875-MENS, Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Make the call. Chewing macaroni and cheese, Ed. Yeah, you know, it's one thing when you're doing this and you know, you're having one of these little get-togethers and you're on the air. And you always try to eat as much as you can in that little 4 minutes of commercial
Yeah,
time.
we had stuff our faces. If anybody's ever seen us on a remote, especially at Firehouse, you know.
Well, that's the thing, too, is you learn how to eat during breaks.
Yes.
And you know what else? It's like, and you learn how to eat and then take a quick drink.
Yes.
You don't
Well,
waste your time.
The funny thing too is and our breaks are anywhere between 4 to 5-ish minutes, depending on what's going on. You also have that internal clock in your head. So like here we can hear the commercial break, but like at remotes when we take the headset off, can't hear anything. And like if I'm over eating a Firehouse sub or whatever, I have that clock in my head. Like, all right, I think I got like 90 seconds left here.
Yep. And the worst thing is when the clock is off.
Yes. Oh,
Every
yeah.
now and then the clock's off.
Well, and you know, people come in and they'll talk to us and whatever, and you'll kind of get caught up in something like, oh crap, because again, if you know Ed's producing on the other side and screaming like, hey guys, we're back, we can't hear them, we don't have the headsets on.
Right. It happens. It does.
It does.
People come in and things get sideways. All right, just in case you just woke up, obviously the NBA draft is tonight. And one of the interesting stories of this draft, and I think in a way it's being overblown, but it is a story. All right, Rutgers had 2 prize freshmen last year. Ron Harper's kid and Ace Bailey. Now, Ron Harper's kid's going to go number 2.
Yep.
Ace Bailey, it looked like from a lot of early mocks, was going to go 3. But Ace Bailey has decided not to visit any NBA teams and work out for them.
Yep.
Never. He canceled his workout with the Sixers, which is, again, do I think this is being overblown? Because I don't think not working out for some team means anything in the big picture. But here's the one issue, is the canceling of a workout to me.
Yes.
I mean, if you don't want to work out, don't, right?
Yeah, right.
Because people have enough tape of you to see you play. You went to the draft combine.
And that one workout's probably not going to change things one way or the other too much.
Right. But when you go cancel workouts that are set up, that's sending a weird message.
And word gets around the league fast, right? So, yeah, you're canceling that workout with 76ers, but when your reputation starts to precede you a little bit around the league, that can have an effect. And the question is becoming, okay, how does that affect him tonight in the first round?
And a lot of people think, well, first of all, he doesn't have a real agent, which is another red flag. He's got a representative who's not a certified agent. Now, again,
we've got a little bit of a track record of non-agents hurting athletes here as of late.
So you got to be careful when you have a advisor that's not a certified agent. Now, again, Lamar Jackson, his mom takes care of his business.
Is it Uncle Joe or something?
It's Mom.
Yeah.
Mom Jackson.
Yeah.
And Mom Jackson don't play around. But again, that's been clunky at times, to be fair. It's worked out, but it has not been a smooth road at times. So going back to Ace Bailey, a lot of people think that Ace Bailey's people are trying to, and this is a very weird strategy, have him go lower in the draft to a better spot to make him shine than to have him go higher. So basically take less slot money in that first rookie deal, but to put him on a team to give him in a better position for the second contract.
The word they use is seeking a clear path to stardom.
Yes.
So where he is going to be unopposed in terms of, hey, I can be the standout guy here, which is going to in turn make me look better, and again can lead to that better second contract.
So the point being is, all right, he's not going to go 1. Obviously,
No.
Cooper Flagg is going 1 to Dallas.
Unless Dallas just,
Right.
does Dallas things.
Which, they could trade it for, a really good defender.
Trade it for some magic beans or something.
San Antonio will take Dylan Harper, too. Now, Philly was a spot, but again, if you're, looking to make yourself shine and be a star, you're not taking shots from Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George. You don't want to go to Philly.
No.
So he canceled his trip to Philly. And a lot of people think the kid from Baylor, VJ Edgecombe, who could be really good, will go 3. Charlotte, they're kind of a mess, but you're not going to. But they've got they have the young Ball. Young Mr. Ball is really the go-to guy in Charlotte.
That's true.
So you don't want to go there because it's not a clear path to stardom because Ball's in your way. LaMelo Ball's in your way. Utah's got a ton of guys who take shots. Lauri Markkanen is really good. He's going to get usage. So Utah probably isn't your spot either. And they're really looking for more of a point guard. Then you get to Washington. There's your clear path. The Wizards, they just brought in C.J. McCollum, but that might just be a temporary rest area stop for McCollum to go somewhere else. The Wizards are trading pieces and trading assets, and they're trying to rebuild and reload and retool. Remember, they tanked to get Flag. It just didn't work.
Yeah.
Weren't they tied for the most ping pong balls, I believe, the Wizards, or second most
right.
or something? So Ace Bailey, that would be a landing spot. That's the spot right there. Washington at 6. And the Wizards would take him, I believe, because he'll be the highest rated guy on the board. But again, the Wizards are kooky. They might screw it up. But Ace Bailey to D.C. would be a spot that he's going to get the ball a ton, a chance to put up numbers, have a high usage rate, and like you said, the clear path to stardom. Of course, obviously this cat doesn't care if he loses 80 games a year.
Sure. Now, again, that's great in theory. You still got to go out there and do it.
Right. And the idea is, are you putting enough ill will out there to affect you more than you think it's going to affect you? Again, they have all the intel, right? If I have the intel that makes me think, I don't like this guy's inner circle, I don't like his entourage, I don't think he's getting good advice now, so what kind of advice is he going to get later? I'm spending millions of dollars, and I want to make this guy one of the faces of my franchise. I might pass on Ace Bailey, just to be fair.
It's that line between talent and everything else.
Right.
And if that talent is just so ridiculously high, you'll ignore the other stuff, saying, okay, well, we might have to wrangle him in, but he's going to be a great player for this. But that other stuff starts to creep up on the talent, that's where you run into problems.
And the other side, though, if I have all the intel that guys like you and I don't have, we're just hearing these stories, and let's say a lot of this is overblown, and it's not as bad as you think, then you pull the trigger and take him. Now, let's get a couple of cuts in here about our boy, Ace Bailey. Let's start off with Ace Bailey. Give it cut 9 there, Ed Bird, from today's cut list. Ace Bailey talking about what he can and can't control.
Ace, how are you tuning out the noise in the pre-draft? And obviously, are you hearing it? And what's your thoughts on it?
No, I'm just working on basketball. That's all I'm focused on so far.
But do you feel like people are getting at the wrong perception of you?
I feel like I can only control what I can control. I mean, you can think how you think, but I can control what I can control.
So what can you control?
Me playing basketball.
So you could have controlled going to the workout. So
I'm focused on basketball. That's all it is. It's basketball.
Now, again, you're getting the answer. I control what I can control. I'm about basketball.
Yeah, he's not saying anything publicly to incriminate himself.
Which is smart because, again, Ace Bailey is 19 years old, roughly.
Yes. And again, hey, look, when you've been told you're the best guy for probably the better part of your basketball career up to this point, you believe it, right? And you have people around you that say, hey, man, if we do this, this is going to help you out in the long run. You're going to believe it.
And I like the fact that he didn't say anything dumb.
Yeah, it's like, well,
he didn't say anything, which is smart.
I'm the best.
Right.
You know, me, and all that kind of stuff. Like
basketball.
He stuck to basketball,
Control
which
what
is
I
good.
can control.
Good.
All right, let's get another cut here. Cut 7, Ed Bird. Jonathan Giovanni, who's been covering the NBA for about 1 billion years, is talking about Ace Bailey's pre-draft process, which has been clunky.
Malika, right now Ace Bailey is the only U.S. prospect yet to conduct a visit to an NBA team facility. He had a workout scheduled today with Philadelphia, who owned the number 3 pick, but his agent Omar Cooper canceled that workout on Wednesday. He has yet to visit Charlotte at number 4 or Utah at number 5, leading some NBA executives to believe he has a preferred destination in mind, maybe 6, 7, or 8, with Washington, New Orleans, or Brooklyn. I reached out to his camp again today for an update, and they told me nothing has changed at this moment. They are standing pat with their strategy. They feel confident going through the pre-draft process. There are some pending requests from NBA teams, but they're working through those still. Now, it's possible they're hoping one of those teams in the 6 to 8 range trades up for Ace Bailey, but there's a lot of uncertainty about how this is all going to play out on draft night.
All right, we'll get back and talk about this more on the other side, and also get our Firehouse sub text the hour next, 803-404-6100. It's a halftime show in the game. Get our Firehouse Subtext the hour here in a second, 803-404-6100. Before we move to it, just real quick on Ace Bailey before we jump out. I think some of this, it's going to be very interesting because some of this I think gets overblown.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, Ace Bailey, and he's 18, he's not 19. I thought he turned 19. He's still 18. And there is not a guy in this draft that probably has more potential to be a big-time scorer in the league than Ace Bailey.
Sure.
And all of that is a skill set that you can't teach. But I do think canceling a workout and kind of handling your business in the way you're handling it with your people around you, it's not so much about you, it's about the people around you.
Yeah.
How many times have we seen the people around a player fail a player to where it makes a player fail?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not necessarily your talent level, but them not these teams not wanting to deal with the people that represent you and whatever their demands may end up being if they do indeed draft you. So yeah, something to watch because again, his talent is very, very high, and he's still going to go somewhere in the first round. But what happens after this, I think, is going to be the interesting thing.
I remember, and when it comes to the NFL draft, I talk to people who cover teams or talk to some scouts every now and then, and they would tell you about a player. They'd say, you know what, I wouldn't take that player, or I wouldn't take that player as high as other people are.
Sure.
I go, why? I go, well, he's got an issue in the inner circle. Mm-hmm. He's got a couple of inner circle issues.
Yep.
And unless he fixes them, it's going to ruin his career.
Because again, there's a lot of people that are out there for their own self-interest.
Absolutely.
Saying, hey, I'm gonna help myself get rich, or I'm gonna help myself be more successful through you. So again, you got to be careful.
There's stories about Allen Iverson. And think about Allen Iverson's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But Allen Iverson had a crew of people because Allen Iverson was loyal. He was loyal to the people he grew up with. There's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
LeBron James is loyal to the people he grew up with. But there's a difference in being loyal to people who are going to use you and being loyal to people who want to be part of your success.
I believe that's what happened to Trent Richardson, that he, was paying for aunts and uncles and cousins, buying this and that and businesses, and he ended up losing a lot of his money that way.
And I'll tell you this, Trent Richardson was one of the guys, if my memory serves me, that there was concerns about the inner circle / family dynamic around Trent Richardson.
They were there to help themselves, not necessarily see the best for him.
And Richardson still went high in the draft in the first round, but
and
that dynamic around him did not help him.
As it turned out, his game didn't translate as well to the next level.
No.
And he didn't hang around the league long.
No, he didn't, and his shelf life was short, and probably it didn't help him that he didn't have a great support system around him who was truly there to make. Look, LeBron James, his crew went with him through life, right?
Yeah, sure.
But here's the difference. These were guys who were there to uplift and help James be the best pro he could be. Because you know what happens if LeBron reaches that?
Yeah.
So do you.
Helps them, right.
Guys like Rich Paul and all those guys.
Yep, absolutely.
They were building up LeBron to help him because, they were all tight.
Yep.
And in return, all those guys are still rolling along.
Absolutely.
It's like the show Entourage.
It is.
Yeah, the show's all right. You ever watch Entourage?
I don't have HBO. I got to watch Entourage. I got to watch The Severance. There's a lot of things.
I'll say, to me, just me personally, and I didn't watch every episode of Entourage in my life, the early seasons, like most shows, better.
Okay. Yeah.
It was good. I mean, it's a good show, but,
If I find the time.
Yeah, good luck.
Probably
all right, real quick,
time.
Firehouse Subtext the hour. We got.
Kent says CMB could easily be more athletic. Draymond Green. He's hung around forever and rarely puts up big points.
I was going to bring up Draymond Green. It's a great text because I think Draymond early in his career was a better three-point shooter, but yes, the comp is Draymond Green. It's an excellent guard, multiple positions on defense, maybe facilitate on offense. That's a good one. Yes, excellent poll. All right, we'll come back, talk a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the Halftime Show on the Game. All righty, a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Have you eaten enough? You good?
I made the mistake of wearing a new pair of pants today.
Don't tell me.
So my mom got me some jeans for my birthday because I'm always in need of jeans, and I wear them so much I end up wearing them out. So it's like, we have this little company thing. May as well put on the nice jeans. And Ed can attest to this. Some of that chicken out there is pretty greasy. I went to put it on the plate, slid right off, right onto my pants.
Happens every time.
So I'm going to have to wash these when I get
Whenever
home.
you wear the new stuff, I've noticed this. If you wear clothes you don't give a crap about or they aren't new,
Yeah, nothing happens.
Never drop
Nothing
anything
happens.
on them. The minute you're wearing something you like or it's new or it was just whatever, and that's when it happens.
I was a kid, and I was in a church play or something like that, and I had these pair of black pants on for whatever this role I was playing is, and my mom's like, don't get these dirty.
Oh.
And I went out and
Why'd
played
she say
football in the backyard with my buddy from down the street. Guess who got tackled and got mud all over his pants?
This guy.
This guy.
And of course, mom took that well, right?
She did. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, Mom took that well.
Because here's the thing is mud stains come out real easy,
Oh, sure. They don't have to, especially back then.
especially back then.
Now you can throw those Tide bombs in or whatever
Oh.
you can do. And
I think I had to just like stand at an angle because it's like on the side. I think I just had to stand at an angle so nobody could see it.
Yeah, turn that way. And then she's sitting there like putting stuff, like putting the detergent on it, rubbing it, cussing you. Oh yeah.
Well, because I think I caught the ball and he came to tackle me. I'm like, no, don't. But by then
It was
I
over.
was going down.
It was over. Oh yeah, yeah, I had a few of those.
Yeah.
I told you not to get those dirty.
I wasn't trying to.
Yeah.
It just happened.
Do you think that makes it better?
Yes.
Oh man. All right. So a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors, and interesting little list that EA Sports put together about the toughest venues to play in
For
basically.
college football 26.
football for 2026. Now, remember this came out last year. We were like Texas A&M, really?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Like, okay, from a capacity standpoint, yeah, one of the bigger ones. They got their weird cult male cheerleader thing going on. Okay, but I don't think of it as the most raucous environment.
Yes. I mean, and that's the thing. I think that, yeah, they do a lot of goofy stuff, and they got their little chants, like you said, the yell thing and the yellow squad. But I don't think if you ask teams and you ask players, say, okay, where don't you want to go play in the SEC? I don't think College Station, Texas is coming up number one.
No,
as the toughest
definitely
place
not.
to play.
No.
But I'll say this year I believe they got it closer to right.
Yes. Well, because last year this team was number 3, and we were like, 3? Really?
Tiger Stadium at LSU.
Go. I think if there was one, because again, anytime you put a list, you're not going to please everyone.
No, not at all.
But if there's one place that I think that most people can agree, all right, yeah, that's probably the toughest, it's that one.
It is. I mean, especially a night game in Baton Rouge. Night game in Baton Rouge is insane.
Yep.
It's like a night game at Williams-Brice, which
They're-
South Carolina's on this list this year too.
They're up there, but again, dreams go to die. Like
Yes.
that is the tagline that will live forever about Tiger Stadium.
Yes, and it is. You talk to people who have played there, and they'll say it's the atmosphere is insane. Like, but the flip side is, when like they have Bryant-Denny Stadium here at number 5. No offense, I've talked to players. Preston's one of them. He'll tell you it's not a very intimidating atmosphere.
And we had this debate last year. It's like, okay, there's a difference between having success and having a crazy environment. And again, Alabama's had a ton of success. And I think because of that success, it's led to the environment not being that tough. Because for so many years, they're just bludgeoning everyone. They weren't in a lot of tight games in Tuscaloosa where, hey, in fact, Nick Saban had to get onto his own fan base for leaving games early because they were beating opponents so badly.
Right. It's like, I know you want to get out of the 19-hour traffic jam, but no, stay till the end.
Because again, they weren't playing a lot of tight games
They were
where you
killing
have the fan base that has to be juiced up the entire
Right.
time.
So I mean, again, from people I've talked to who have played at Bryant-Denny Stadium, they're like, yeah, the atmosphere isn't what gets you. It's the Bama team on the field across from you that
It's
gets
like,
you.
whether you're playing in front of 90,000 people or no people, it's still the same Alabama team.
It's a tough atmosphere because they were kicking your tail.
Yes.
is why. Beaver Stadium at Penn State, when they do the whiteouts, and I've been when I worked in PA, I went to a few Penn State games because I got free tickets, and it is a tough place to play. There's no doubt about it. It is a very electric atmosphere.
Yes.
And they do every time. I don't know if they still do this, But back when I went, back in the 1700s, every time Penn State got a first down, they'd run a lion roar sound effect over the PA.
Kind of like the Gamecock sound here.
Yeah, but it was like louder.
Okay.
So every first down, you would get that lion roar. And of course, when they're kicking the crap out of people,
Sure.
and they're churning out 30-some first downs,
Yeah.
you know, that lion roar is getting stuck. That sound effect is breaking. But the place was, it was a very rowdy atmosphere. And the thing about State College, if anyone's ever been there, it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. It's all about the venue.
It is a valley. I mean, it's Happy Valley, and it's a valley, and you're near nothing. You're not near any major media markets. It is, honest to God, they just dropped it in between some mountains because it's, Nittany Mountains.
Sure.
And the drive, everybody's drive is a few hours, and you're driving these back roads. So the first time I went, it was raining, and there were frogs all over the road.
Okay.
I mean, you look like a really weird, Stephen King movie.
Like the plague was coming.
It was bizarre.
Yeah.
And so it's a very tough place to play. It's in the middle of nowhere. And so that venue is legit. Ohio State and Columbus, yeah. I mean, look, those guys have been good for 100 years.
Again, it's the Alabama thing. Being good doesn't always correlate to a crazy environment.
And that's what I was going to say. It's like, I wonder with Ohio State, is it a crazy environment because it's a crazy environment, or is it a crazy environment because you've been really good for the last 100 years?
Well, I also think it dings them a little bit. They play most of their home games at noon now. So most of the people, and a very angry fan base at that, we just woke up. It's a little hard to get juice for those noon games every single week, as opposed to playing at night.
Here's another one. Now, again, you'll know this. I've never been. I hear Sanford Stadium is not the most intimidating place. Is
Sanford
that true
Stadium, and again, I've not been in the crowd at Williams-Brice Stadium, but Sanford can be loud at times. I wouldn't say it's consistently one of the most loud. The loudest I ever heard it was against Mississippi State in 2017 when they ran the flea flicker on the first play. Place went nuts there. But I would say from a consistent standpoint, it's loud, obviously. Every stadium's loud, but I wouldn't put it at the tippy top necessarily.
Okay. Also, I mean, there's some others on here like Memorial Stadium at Clemson. I mean, again, South Carolina's gone there 2 of the last 3 years and won.
Yes.
I have heard that can be a rowdy atmosphere.
I think it's one of those places that steps it up more at night, too.
Yeah.
And Jack was telling me earlier, even at noon, it's good atmosphere, good environment. But when you turn the lights on there, I think it takes it to a different level.
Well, I mean, I've heard stuff about what they do with their baseball stadium now. Things are where the crowd is sitting next to you in the bullpen.
Yeah.
And it's become real controversial.
Their bullpen, you're essentially sitting in somebody's lap while you're warming up.
And of course, those people, it's the visitors' bullpen, by the way.
Yes, it is, of course.
And of course, the home crowd, after, tailgating for a while.
Hey, I don't like you very much.
What was it? The one is they almost grabbed some dude's arm or something. It just, so, I mean, they like to set their venues.
Sure. Well,
and Little John, they tried to for a while make that as rowdy as they could.
Memorial has the hill. They do the rundown. They touch the rock and all that kind of stuff. They have their traditions. But I will say, watching it on TV, at least, it does seem like a good rowdy atmosphere.
And the people I've talked to who have gone there will say, it can get lathered up.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Swamp in Gainesville is crazy. Autzen in Oregon, when I lived out and worked in Seattle, I heard a lot about how Autzen is a phenomenal atmosphere for college football.
That's a different kind of folk out there, too.
It is. I mean, most of the people in Oregon, let's face it, a lot of them have been, smoking up before the game. Anyways, how rowdy are you after you've been smoking up before the game? Number 8 is at Memorial Stadium in Oklahoma in Norman. Now, last year, South Carolina went there and punched Oklahoma in the throat right away. So you don't know just how. I mean, the Sooner Schooner. It's I've heard about the atmosphere is really great at Oklahoma. They love the Sooners. Just last year, South Carolina went out there and ended that thing fast.
And as we talked about, that's an anomaly for them because they're used to winning at a high level almost every single year. By the way, good luck, Brett.
Yeah, go get them. Hot seat Venables. Number 10, Ann Arbor.
Yeah. And again, they have the numbers that obviously go a long way, but it's the way the stadium's designed too. There's no escaping. It's just it's one bowl.
The sound just doesn't leave.
Yeah.
So that's legit there in Ann Arbor at the Big House with Kyle Field at A&M. Neyland Stadium at Tennessee is a very tough place to play.
100,000+ people, big bowl. I've heard the Hobnail boot game for Georgia back in 2001. They said it was like an earthquake before that happened because of how loud it gets in there and the ground's shaking.
Now, a couple of these real quick as well. Memorial Stadium at Texas.
How many Memorial Stadiums do we have?
50. Everybody's got Memorial Stadium.
Original name there.
Yeah, that one is the Darrell K. Royal
Yeah,
Texas Memorial Stadium.
That's DKR.
At Oklahoma, it's the Gaylord family because they put in a lot of money.
Yes.
So you have Texas, Doak Campbell, Florida State. When Florida State, all through those Bowden years, a very tough place to play.
Maybe not at the moment, but
Right. Well, not last year. They were leaving early for another reason. And then this one, I've been to Camp Randall.
okay.
That's a thing, man.
Yep.
Camp Randall, it is a cool venue to go watch a college football game.
Do you jump around?
From jump around, I was all over jump around. From jump around to the fifth quarter when the band plays. Camp Randall is a very, very fun 3.5 hours.
Nice.
It really is. Williams-Brice is sitting at 16. Look, again, I haven't been to every college football venue, but I'm going to tell you, Willie B at night's a thing.
Yeah,
It absolutely is a thing.
It's obviously, especially later in the season, tough place to come in and win, and obviously it got a lot of tradition mixed in there as well that goes a long way. And I think 16th side place, and again, the company around them, it's a good couple places to be kind of sandwiched between.
I'll tell you, when Xavier Legette returned the kickoff a couple years ago against A&M and his shoe came off, the opening kickoff, that place, it's almost that place exploded.
The Rocket Sanders touchdown against Missouri last year, because
went insane.
The Missouri had scored, and everybody's kind of like, oh man, and then you have
Here we
that
go
crazy
again.
play, and and it's a longer play too, and I think that creates like the build up to it, and then just the explosion when he finally scores.
And the Tennessee game, when they curb stomped Tennessee a couple of years ago, when Tennessee was working to the college football playoff, that was a constant. I mean, it was like your ears were bleeding.
That was one of those things, and I wasn't working here at that point in time, but watching the game on TV, even before Carolina jumped out and started putting it to them, it just felt different. Like there was something about the atmosphere that night that was like, hey, I think they might do this.
Well, the thing about it is remember, they were coming off an awful performance at the Swamp against Florida, and they were like, "There's no way they're going to." If they get boat raced by Florida, what is Tennessee with Hendon Hooker going to do to them?
Sure.
And then South Carolina went out there and just took Tennessee apart. The crowd was phenomenal that night. Some of these others, real quick. Husky Stadium in Washington is a thing. I've been there.
You told me they love their Huskies
their
up
college
there.
football. Husky Stadium at UW is a thing. Kinnick Stadium at Iowa, they're not really, it's just a great atmosphere. They do the thing with the Children's
wave,
Hospital. I mean, it's just a great atmosphere.
That's a passionate fan base.
Yes, they love
Despite
Iowa football.
the fact that their offense
And they
can't score 10
suffered.
points.
It doesn't matter if you're winning. You're winning games 3-2. When you got T-shirts, we love the punt. I mean, come on. Notre Dame Stadium.
Yep.
Boone Pickens at Oklahoma State. Davis Wade, Mississippi State. And here's one. Carter Finley, NC State.
I feel like that's one that doesn't get talked about enough.
Does not.
The success of NC State hasn't been there as consistently, but you watch a game there, especially when they're having a good season, they show up.
See, I did not know about Carter Finley.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, interesting. So that's from 3A Sports, their top 25 toughest venues. All right, we're talking a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors, like we always do here on the game. The new quarterback at Florida State has caused a ruckus.
A little bit.
We'll get into that next, and the reaction to that ruckus on the halftime show as we talk football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Ed Bird, Tyler Head, Terry Ford till 3 here on the game. We are talking a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour here on the halftime show, sponsored by our buddies at the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. We are yipping about Thomas Castellanos. Thomas Castellanos was the quarterback at Boston College last year for a bit and then got benched by Bill O'Brien.
Yep.
Castellanos hits the portal, lands at Florida State. Florida State coming off an awful season when they made a questionable quarterback choice through the portal in DJU.
Yep.
Uwe Ungalale eventually got hurt and got benched. Florida State cratered in, 2-10. So this year, Mike Norvell, knowing that 2-10, really not a good idea in Tallahassee,
Ideally not.
went out and decided Thomas Castellanos would be his guy because Castellanos started his career at Central Florida, playing for Gus Malzahn.
Mm-hmm.
The new offensive coordinator of Florida State is who? Gus Malzahn. So I'm sure Gus Malzahn said Castellanos can run the offense that I want to put in place here at Florida State. Now, Castellanos in his career has had moments where he's fantastic because he's a dual threat guy. He runs it well. He's very inconsistent throwing, but when he's on point, he can run, he can throw. He's not the biggest dude in the world, but he's got physical skills.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, he's inconsistent. And when he's not good, he's not good, especially throwing the rock. Spinning it can be a problem. So Castellanos decided in an interview with Pete Nakos that he would take a shot at Alabama. Basically, and I'll paraphrase it, Alabama ain't Alabama anymore.
Yeah, Saban's gone. I'm not afraid of him.
And Danny Cannell, former Florida State quarterback,
And resident whiner when it comes to most things in college football.
especially when it comes to the SEC. Danny Cannell, he has some thoughts on Thomas Castellanos talking about Alabama. And, of course, who does Florida State play?
Alabama.
So here's Danny Cannell's thoughts on Thomas Castellanos applying even more pressure to himself and Florida State. That will be cut 5, Ed Bird, on today's cut list.
Coach Bowden used to always tell us, specifically around Miami and Florida week, he'd be like, all right, there's going to be a bunch of media attention. Let's make sure we're only say nice things about the opponent. Don't give them anything to fuel their fire. Don't give them any bulletin board material. You know, I guess it's so early in the offseason, you don't think it could happen. And the week of the game, you're a little bit more careful. But I would take the same approach that you did and that your coach did and my coach did. Why give them any added motivation? If anything, you want like a sneak attack. Like you want them to like overlook you and think you're not good as opposed to, which wake them up a little bit. Kick the hornet's nest, if you will. That's what Tommy Castellanos just did. He kicked the hornet's nest, and it's about to find out if he can run away from him or not.
All right, so I get where Danny Cannell's going, because that's what we've all been told our whole lives playing sports. Don't give him any bulletin board material, bub.
Sure.
You know, don't fire him up. We want him to be just even keeled. Don't want to give him any extra ammo. But the way it goes, though, let's just be honest about it. If Florida State plays Alabama and beats the Tide, we're going to say Castellanos, he set the tone.
Called a shot.
He called it. He backed it up. He gave this team an edge and the confidence they need to turn this thing around.
Yep.
Thomas Castellanos is just exactly what Florida State needed.
Yep.
If Alabama stomps the curb with these guys, whose fault's it going to be?
Thomas Castellanos.
Absolutely.
And he's going to look like an idiot.
Mm-hmm. But that's the way this goes when you step out there, right?
And let's kind of compare this to Diego Pavio, who was on Bustin' with the Boys the other week, and we analyzed, obviously, what he said is about South Carolina, but he spoke from a point of a lot of confidence, saying, hey, I think Vanderbilt can win the national championship and all these kind of things, but he has moments last year, beating Alabama, playing Texas tough. Like, we have tangible evidence to back up what Diego Pavia is saying about what he thinks the season could be. We'll have that with Castellanos. Again, he got benched last year. Like, where is his defining moment? We're saying, okay, I know he's talking a big game, but remember he did this thing, which can make you believe that he's capable of what he's talking about. Well, he doesn't have that.
And that's the thing here. It's like, I'll just use Carson Beck. If you're Carson Beck, right, you've had success as starting quarterback on a high level. And you show up at Miami, and let's say you're playing Bama, and you go, saying the same thing Castellanos said. You got more confidence Carson Beck can pass it, can back it up than Thomas Castellanos.
At least in the past, you've seen what he's capable of.
Right.
Playing at a high level.
But with Castellanos, Castellanos was but he quarterbacked Boston College when they beat Florida State early last year.
That's his most significant win is over at the time number 10 Florida State in week number 1, who proceeded to lose pretty much all their games after.
Right, exactly. So that win lost some shine, right?
Yeah.
It was one of those. So if you're Castellanos, it's like just until you really have done something that merits you to be able to step up and start talking like that, just zip it.
And again, there's nothing wrong with being confident, saying, hey, look, I believe in my abilities and my teammates. I think we have the ability to go in there and not only play with Alabama, but beat them. Like, nobody's going to have a problem with that, but it's just this like, yeah, they don't have Saban anymore. They suck. They're not going to be able to stop me. Like, it's that kind of confidence we feel like is unwarranted.
All right, speaking of Castellanos, Lenore Sellers hanging on home with Zach Gelb, who does a show for, we don't carry it, but the Infinity Sports Network.
Yes, I think it
And
comes,
he's
I think it's on
afternoon
weekends.
now.
Is he afternoons now?
He's afternoons.
I've heard him on weekends. Yeah.
So here's Lenore Sellers on the Zach Gelb show on the Infinity Sports Network, and he's talking about, I guess Gelb asked him about the comments of Thomas Castellanos, and here's what Lenore Sellers said about Alabama. Cut number 11, Ed Bird.
Shoot, Alabama's still Alabama to me. They were good last year. They're a good team. They're big, strong, and fast. That's how I remember watching them growing up, and I don't really think they've changed that much. Obviously, they got new coaching staff and all that, but that's still SEC ball. That's still Alabama. So
that's how you answer it.
It is. Now,
that's how you do it.
As soon as the microphone cuts off, he could say, man, I think they suck. I think they're terrible. I don't think Kalen DeBoer is a good coach. But when the microphone is on, when you're being recorded and this can be plastered everywhere, shared on social media, use bulletproof material, I respect them. They've always been good. They're still good, and they're going to be tough.
Guess who South Carolina's going to play this year?
Alabama.
Alabama.
Yes.
You don't say anything.
If we're going to be honest here, Lenore Sellers has a better case for talking trash against Alabama than Castellanos.
Absolutely.
Because he played there and had South Carolina in position to maybe win the game at the end.
South Carolina legitimately should have beat Alabama.
They could have, yes.
And so, Lenore Sellers is smart, man. They're Alabama, dude. It's SEC ball. Alabama's Alabama.
Yeah, don't put a target on your back.
Smart move.
And a target on your head coach's back, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're Mike Norvell at Florida State, you're going, oh, God. Oh, God.
Hey, Tommy, I need to see you in my office.
Right. We need to talk, Tommy. You're calling Bill O'Brien. You want him back? You want that dude back at BC? Because, Mike Norvell, look, there's 63 million reasons Mike Norvell won't get fired at the end of this upcoming season, most likely.
Yes, absolutely.
That's called a buyout.
Yes.
Especially in the world of college football right now where every dollar matters.
Yeah.
Norvell, by the way, Norvell's buyout doesn't get under $20 million till like the year 2029.
Have fun with that, Florida State.
Nice work, Florida
Unless,
State.
that public investment fund comes in strong at some point.
You better talk to somebody. Hey, you guys, you live golf, guys. You got any extra dough? So yeah, this Castellanos thing, it's interesting. And again, it's like all this stuff. If you talk it and you back it up, you're a leader and you're edgy like Diego Pavia. If you talk it and you get smacked upside the head, what are you doing?
Yeah. Again,
stay in your lane, shut your mouth.
You risk making yourself look like a joke right out of the jump. Because again, this is a national televised game, week number 1 in Tallahassee. Everybody's watching. Yep. Everybody's going to remember what you said. All right, go out there and prove it.
Exactly. All right, hey, tomorrow, Tyler and I will be hanging out at the Nest on Gadsden and the Vista between 12 and 3. We're going to have some fun there, hanging out, doing the halftime show. If you want to do stuff to your home in any way, shape, or form, whether it's the kitchen, the bathroom, fixtures, lighting, plumbing, whatever the case, the Nest is the place. The ginormous showroom. You call, you set an appointment, you go in, and you make it happen. Or you can just show up tomorrow, hang out with us. I think Tyler's making food. And you can just see the Nest for yourself and maybe talk to some of the experts and maybe set up that appointment to come in and make your housing, home, decorating dreams come true. We're there tomorrow, noon to 3 at the Nest on Gadsden and the Vista. A lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour. Peter Burns and Chris During talking about are dynasties dead in college football? That's next here on the halftime show as we yip football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the game. Lots of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors on the Game. And, you can listen to the game in about a million different ways. Obviously, old school on your radio here in Columbia. You can listen to us on the 107.5 The Game app anywhere that you can get the app working on your phone. In South Carolina, in the United States, Guam, Panama, New Zealand, Luxembourg, doesn't matter. You can hear us if you have the 107.5 The Game app. Also, you can stream us. You can watch us. Look at the shine off my head on the Game TV, at the Game TV radio. You can grab us from iTunes, Google. I mean, we're everywhere. We're also in Myrtle Beach. We're in Florence. And who knows where we could be soon.
That's also true.
Yes.
And some news in the pipeline.
Hey, we're working on it. So we'll be in other places at some point soon. So anyway, just, we appreciate you listening no matter how you do, checking us out here on the Game. All right. Peter Burns and Chris Doering. Chris Deering's our guy. Chris Doering. We're on SEC Network talking about this new era of college football with rev share, with the transfer portal, with all the things that go on today. Can a dynasty exist in this climate? Here's Peter Burns and Chris Deering talking about dynasties. That would be cut number 4, Cale.
And I think everybody's trying to figure out how to navigate this world right now where there is more parity. And you're not going to be able to kind of stack these teams like you probably could back in the day. I mean, the days of dynastic teams, whether it be Saban or even we saw Kirby right before the NIL and transfer portal world, really opened up, of building just juggernauts. I don't know if you're going to be able to do that in football. And I'm still trying to decipher why that's different in other sports per se. But I think we're just in a brand new world.
Do you think you can have dynastic runs in other sports? I mean, we literally saw.
I don't know. I don't know if we can. I really
don't think we can either.
All right, let's start with college football. We'll break this. We'll bring this out.
Yeah.
All right. In college football, I still think that you are going to have. All right. What's the definition of a dynasty? Let's start there.
Dynasty, I think, is winning multiple national championships over a short period of time. So if you were to win 3 or 4 of a 10-year span, we'd say that's a dynasty.
So obviously Alabama under Nick would be a dynasty.
Very much so.
Easy. That's a no-brainer.
Nebraska was the dynasty of the 90s.
Yes, Nebraska was a dynasty. I mean, what Florida State did was a dynasty. Oklahoma under Barry Switzer was a dynasty. Not under Bob Stoops. They only won 1 title. They were in contention a lot, but I don't think that was a dynasty. That was just a really, really high level
program. That was also when the tide was starting to shift towards the SEC, kind of taking everything over.
So I think Oklahoma's had their time. Nebraska, Florida State, Bama with Nick, Bama with Bear.
Yeah.
So those constitute a dynasty to me.
Sure.
Georgia's not there yet. They've won a couple.
No. And again, if they win like a third one, then they say, okay, now we're starting to enter that territory.
Right now, obviously we've taken Nick out of Bama. There is no dynasty in college football.
Not currently, no.
No. Georgia's the closest.
Yeah.
But like we said, they're just quite not there yet. When you look at this thing and you say, all right, who could be one? I mean, what Sark's doing at Texas is interesting, but they haven't won one. And until you actually win one, I don't know how much we can even go in the conversation.
Sure.
Obviously, we've talked Georgia. You look around, in the ACC, no. In the Big 12, no. Big 10, Ohio State, they won it last year. But that's the first one Ohio State's won since Urban.
Yeah, they're good for one every decade.
Yeah, and I just don't think besides Alabama.
Sure.
We've had good, probably Clemson's won a couple. I mean, we've got these pockets. We have really good programs.
Yes.
There's a difference between really good program and a dynasty.
Yeah.
I think we're still going to have really good programs, Tyler, but I don't know if we're going to see anything like a Bama again.
And again, it's that third one that I really think starts to set you apart. Because again, Clemson won a couple in a few years' time. Georgia won back-to-back. Obviously, getting that third one is so hard to do. And again, in a short window of time, I think that's what starts to separate you. And going back to the clip of Peter Burns and Chris Doering there, what they mentioned, you hear this from Kirby Smart, you hear this from Nick Saban a lot. It's that lack of depth now, because what made Alabama so good was they would go out there and they would sign a ton of 5 stars, develop those guys. And yeah, they weren't year 1 starters as freshmen. They sat. They waited. So when a ton of guys went off to the NFL, well, guess what? Here's these 3, a bunch of 5 stars that have been developing and getting ready to go to take over their spot and continuing on that success. So I think if you're going to be a dynasty in today's world of college sports, specifically college football, the way you go about it is different. It's not about stockpiling talent and developing them and having a 3 and 4 deep of tons of dudes that are going to play in the NFL. It's about being able to control your roster year to year with what you do in the portal. Obviously, having a lot of money is going to go a long way there. So when you look at teams like Ohio State and Texas, which are thought to be towards the top of college football in terms of the money that they have available to spend on talent, I think that's what it's going to take if you're going to build a dynasty today, is just quite literally having maybe more money than everybody else to build your roster every year.
Well, that's where it's at. You just have to outspend people right now and bring in better players. And I just don't think we're going to see a Bama type run by anybody.
No.
And I just think the dynasty thing is so tough to sustain now because it's such a year-to-year sport.
That being said, I think college football going forward now, it's going to be, if you ask me how many different national champions we're going to have in the next 15 years, I'd say there's probably a mix of like 5 to 6 teams.
Sure.
Right? They're going to trade off and win. Maybe somebody will win back-to-back. Maybe somebody will win 2 in a 3 or 4 year span. But I don't think it's suddenly going to open up the floodgates to where you're having NBA levels of championship parity. It's going to be kind of your same usual suspects. Maybe somebody comes out of nowhere and jumps up and wins one every now and then. But yeah, having that dynasty, winning again 3 in a short period of time is going to be so hard to do.
I mean, let's look at this. Now, again, the world is turned upside down, but still, Ohio State. Penn State's been around for a while under James Franklin. They just couldn't get over the hump until finally they expanded the playoff. You've got Oregon, who has been a good program for a period of time now. Georgia was in the college football playoff. I mean, I think we're going to see the same 7 or 8 teams year in, year out compete to be in the playoff.
If you look at that top 6 that I can see right now from the AP top 25, if I told you all of the next 20 national championships come from that group of teams, will that shock you?
No, I mean, I'll go over the 6. Ohio State, Notre Dame, Oregon, Texas, Penn State, Georgia.
Yeah, that sounds like the 6 teams that are kind of thought to be at the top of college football right now.
Yeah, and the one that, again, out of those 6, the one I think would be teetering to fall out would be Notre Dame, because I don't know if that was just a one-year thing.
We'll see.
Or are they back being Notre Dame? We'll find out. But to your point, Notre Dame is a blue blood, whether they're good or not.
Right, they haven't won a championship in almost 40 years now.
Right. So I don't think someone can go on an Alabama run, but I do think the same 8 to 10 teams are going to be hanging around, and we're going to get outliers. We're going to get Arizona States.
We are, sure.
So I think the way a 12-team play is set up is good, and I don't think any of them are going to win a national championship.
Especially now, considering the fact that it makes it harder, right, for that Cinderella type team. Let's go back to the days of the BCS, where again everybody said, "Man, Boise State should have been in this national championship, should have been in that one." Where if they made it in as a top 2 team, they would have had one game. They just have to win one game against a power team to win a national championship. Now, for the Boise's, the Arizona States, whoever it may be, they have to go through multiple rounds and beat good team after good team after good team to even play for a national championship. So the path for that shock upset is so much harder now.
Because the more you play as a Cinderella, the better chance you have to finally be the Cinderella and get beat.
Yeah, you might have that, hey, crazy game, and look, they knocked off Ohio State, but okay, well, now you got to go play Texas next week.
And, and to the bigger point, it's ironic that the NBA, which was built on dynasties and stars for so long, has gone 8 straight years with 8 different champions.
Yep.
While the NFL really, there are 2 dynasty-ish type of organizations in professional sports. One is the LA Dodgers. They've won 2 World Series, and we'll count that weird
1.5.
COVID, whatever. Yeah, 1.25.
Sure.
But the Dodgers year in and year out win the National League West, and they've been in the postseason. And again, they've won the championship twice. But the biggest dynasty is in the sport that's doing everything it can not to have a dynasty, which is the NFL and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep. And again, there was another prior dynasty just before that with the Patriots.
Yes.
Even though they had that about 10-year gap between championships.
And the NFL does everything in their power to stop dynasties.
The way it's set up where the worst teams are drafting ahead,
the way the schedules
it's supposed
are
to
built,
not happen.
You just don't. The NFL is trying to flush dynasties.
Yes.
And they've been the one with the dynasties, which is quite ironic.
Yes.
And you feel like that shouldn't last in the NFL, but it seems like it does, which is very weird. Dynasties are so tough today because here's the thing about dynasties, too. It's very weird. We hate to admit we watch it, but we watch it because we want to see them get beat. Or we love the bandwagon, right? The other part of it is we like Cinderellas when there's not too many of them.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
We like David versus Goliath.
You don't want your entire Final Four full of Cinderellas.
And a couple years ago, we had that.
Yeah.
So there's this mix. But for the purpose of the health of your league, if the more teams that have a chance to get in the playoffs and have that opportunity to maybe win a title, the more you have, the better off you are.
Sure.
And that's the NFL model, right?
Yep.
And so I think for leagues to be in sports to be healthy, that's the way you should be, where more teams feel like they have a shot.
Yeah.
All right. Firehouse Sub text the hour next, 803-404-6100. We talk football in the 1 o'clock hour on the halftime show on the game. All right, Firehouse Sub text the hour 803-404-6100. Here on the halftime shows, we talk a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. What do you got, Tyler Head?
Let's see here. Nameless Texter says, personally, I enjoy when dynasties are not littering sports because it keeps you guessing, keeps you tuned until the very end of the season, wondering who's going to win it all.
Yeah, it's like when, and baseball's like this, because baseball's so, and really college football as well, but baseball is so traditional, right? There are a lot of older baseball fans who go, I just wish you had one winner for each league and they'd play in the World Series like the old days. But here's the problem. Do you know how many cities are checked out in September when you have that philosophy?
Almost all of them.
But you look at baseball and you see if you have all these wild cards and you have all these multiple division champions and you have a decent amount of teams in the postseason, guess what? More cities are involved in September. More cities have a chance to watch their favorite team possibly get in the playoffs. And here's a second point, too, Tyler. We've seen teams go from the wild card round to the World Series, like Arizona a couple years ago.
Well, and I don't think it's fair to punish some teams for playing in harder divisions. Because, again, if I'm in a division where, my team wins 100 games and the winner of the division wins 101, then why would I be sitting at home when a team that won, 80 games won their division, but it's a worse division?
Well, think about this. Remember the year, this is way back when the Braves were in the National League West with the San Francisco Giants. Giants won like 103 games, didn't go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's asinine.
Yeah.
I think more playoff positions keep more teams involved in running, making a run in the postseason, and it keeps more fan bases engaged. You know what those engaged fan bases do?
Yeah, they pay. They watch.
They go to games.
They
watch.
games.
They spend money.
Yeah, and then that trickles down to everybody at the end of the day. And baseball is one of those sports because, again, you're playing series, long series, especially when you get into the postseason, where it usually trickles out to the better teams usually winning. Same thing with basketball with postseason. Again, a little bit tight with OKC and Indiana, but the better team ended up winning because you had to play it over 7 games. It's not just this shock, hey, one game, somebody can get somebody and move on there, because you have to play longer series, obviously.
Well, you look at, again, I'm just looking at baseball, Major League Baseball standings from last year at the end of the season. You conceivably would have had a 90-win team in Baltimore out of the playoffs, even though they found a way to knock themselves out anyway. But instead, you had Kansas City in the playoffs with 86 wins. Detroit was in with 86 wins. Those teams in the old days were done.
Yes.
They were done, and instead, they had a chance to be in the postseason. Royals won a playoff game against Baltimore. Detroit, I believe, won a playoff series and moved forward. I think they got beat by the Yankees, if my memory serves me. But anyway, and in college football last year, if you don't expand the playoffs, nobody in Bloomington, Indiana cares.
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody who follows Arizona State cares.
Now, that does, we do have the conversation of the importance of the regular season as a whole compared to what it used to be, and that is something that has been affected, certainly. But yes, now more people are invested and care about what's happening in college football because their team is relevant to the championship race.
Right, I mean, let's go to the teams. Well, here in Columbia, South Carolina, the engagement was even higher than usual because you had a shot to get in the college football playoff.
We weren't blowing smoke. They legitimately were there on the cusp and just missed out.
I mean, you had a few schools who really were intensely engaged because they had an opportunity to be in a college football playoff where if you only had 2 teams or 4 teams, it was done.
That's true.
All right, we will find out what's trending at 2. What's trending at 2 is a former Gamecock baseball player announces his retirement. We'll get into that coming up here on The Game. All right, halftime show. What's trending at 2? Sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Tyler Head, Kale's here. Ed Bird, Terry Ford. Ed Bird's just sitting there eating pie.
Yeah.
Not really doing much of anything.
When you have leftovers. Because Jeannie asked politely, like, hey, you want to take anything with you? I'm like, I don't really have room for anything.
No, I would have taken the whole pie.
Yeah.
That's why she didn't ask me, because I'd have taken it. Well, Ed Bird, being a gentleman, says, leaving leftovers is rude. I'm going to eat everything I can.
You can't let it go to waste.
No. So Ed's just taking care of that and letting Kale run the board.
Your mom ever tell you, hey, there's starving kids out there?
Oh, I used to get that one all the time. There are kids starving in Africa. I'm like, well, send them my peas and green beans. I don't want them.
I think by the time this got over there, it probably wouldn't be consumable anymore.
Yeah, probably. And plus, again.
And they say, stop being smart.
I know. So, or I'd say, kids in Africa don't want to eat lima beans. Go to your room. You're not funny. Okay. All right. So anyway, we're rolling what's trending at 2 here on the game. Well, a retirement has been announced in Major League Baseball. And as Gamecock fans think back to the good old days of South Carolina baseball, let's get cut 8 ready, Kale. They'll always fondly remember this iconic moment. Hit it.
2 balls, no strikes to Merrifield.
Well, the last time through this part of the lineup, Klein did strike out Merrifield and Bradley Jr.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series.
There it is, Whit Merrifield with the game-winning knock.
That was such a crisp ping of the bat.
I know it was.
You dream of that.
Oh, yeah. Huge moment. Whit Merrifield driving in the national championship run for South Carolina. Whit Merrifield announcing his retirement from Major League Baseball. Merrifield drafted in the 9th round by the Royals out of college, grinded through the minors, got to Kansas City, and carved himself out a nice, solid career.
Yeah.
He really did. A career 280 hitter in the majors. Was an all-star 3 different times, top 20 in MVP voting one year when he was in Kansas City. Again, a solid career. Could steal bags. Had, 6 years where he hit 10 or more homers. Whit Merrifield was a good player in the majors. Nice, solid major league career, announcing his retirement.
You hang around in a professional league for a decade, you're a pretty good player, and he was able to do that. I think Wester Chris mentioned he recently had a daughter born, so wants to obviously step away, spend more time with his family. So, he's obviously done a lot at the baseball level or at the professional and college level when it comes to baseball. Obviously going to be loved here forever for what he did, especially including that, World Series walk-off. And, man, you wish him the best because that's a very respectable career.
I believe that leaves Christian Walker as the only player from that era who's still active. Jackie Bradley Jr. is doing
doing TV
analysis. I think Christian Walker's the last one left off the top of my head.
And you think about it, like, man, that can't be true. But then you're like, no, that was 15 years ago.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 years of South Carolina for Merrifield. Hit over 330 career hitter, basically, 329. His last couple years, he generated more power, hitting 24 homers in his last 2 years. Merrifield was just a really good college player and, like we said, a solid major leaguer. So here's Whit Merrifield. Let's grab cut 10 real quick. As we go back to that College World Series moment, Merrifield was on Tailgate Talks 547 reliving that game-winning hit.
I remember thinking, too, they're going to try to, get me to chase something and intentionally walk me. So I was like, all right, we'll just kind of just stand here and just go to first base. And then for whatever reason, maybe it was God smacking me in the face, but the pitcher, the 2-0 pitch, took a long time for some reason, kept shaking. So finally it was long enough where I called time. And I stepped out, and this was when God smacked me, and I was runner on third, less than 2 outs. You hit a ball to the outfield, you win a national championship. You don't get moments like this. Yeah. So all that hit me at once. So I'm like, all right. And I was like, screw it. If this ball's close, I don't care where he throws it. If this ball's close, I got good skills. I'm gonna swing. And sure enough, he threw it a fastball down and away. Not a great pitch to swing at. 2-0 count, but hit it hard. Line drive to right field. And
good enough.
Good enough. Next thing I knew, I was out of those. 1,500 pounds, a sweaty man. Yeah, it was great.
You know, I don't think anybody came up to him and said, you should have sung at that.
It's like, what are you doing?
That was low.
Take to get strike.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I think everybody was good with it.
It's a great story. I just wish that we didn't have the jam band in the background.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on with that. That was the only clip they had available
I know,
for it.
even like Kale's like, this music's like throwing me off from listening to the story. But it's a great story.
Yeah.
It's like, the baseball got smacked. I was like, wait a minute. If I make contact and get this ball into the outfield, we win.
Whether it be in the air, on the ground. If I just get it out there, we're going to win this
We win
thing.
the
And he was
game.
obviously able to do that, slap to the opposite field, and the rest is history. As he said, he's under 1,500 pounds of sweaty men.
But guess what? In that situation, you don't mind.
You're good with it. You're
You
not
don't care.
complaining. Now you might
You
have
don't care.
trouble breathing at some point. You're like, all right, guys, let's cool it here.
You know what's funny? Speaking of celebrations, it takes me with that Oklahoma City thing from yesterday when these guys haven't drank alcohol and they're leaving all these full champagne bottles laying around. I'm mad at ESPN because what 30 for 30's been running.
Which one?
The Bulls.
Yeah. I saw The Last Dance was on again last night.
And I love that
That was
documentary.
fun. That was nice to have during COVID.
Yes, and they rerun it. So now if I turn on ESPN and it's on, I'm paralyzed.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch and I'm going to watch it,
Because
right?
you can jump in at any point.
And this was one of the last couple episodes of the series. And the Bulls are winning championships, and these dudes are spraying
Oh, my
champagne
God.
everywhere. They don't care about goggles. Whatever.
They probably poured more alcohol out than those guys consumed the other night.
Oh, no doubt. And I'm watching this going, now that's a celebration.
Yeah. By the way,
There's a celebration right there.
have you heard my disdain for the celebration goggles?
Yes, you're not wrong.
Yeah, it's goofy. It's nerdy looking.
Come on. You know what? Getting champagne in your eyes
It's a badge of honor.
is the price you pay for winning a championship.
You don't got to play a game tomorrow. What are you worried about?
Your eyes are going to be fine. No one's ever
Fuck.
gone blind from
I was gonna
champagne.
say, let's go back through the decades and decades before this was a thing. I think the Celtics in the mid-2000s were the ones to popularize this, and it's become a thing ever since then. I don't remember anybody, hey, so-and-so went blind celebrating the championship because he got champagne in his eyes.
Bill Russell lost an eyeball in an awful champagne accident.
Yeah, no, it doesn't happen. Ditch the goggles. They look stupid. Celebrate like men.
Celebrate like men.
Exactly.
Man, I'll tell you, if I win a championship and you say you're going to pour champagne in my eye sockets, guess what?
I will take that.
Bring it, baby. Bring me some champagne.
Wait, I still
in the
won
eye
the championship,
sockets.
right? Yes. All right.
You know what? I'll be able to see later. I'm not worried about eyesight. But yeah, that was on. I get mesmerized. I get paralyzed when because I'm like, oh my God, I got to watch this.
Yeah, no, it was incredibly well done.
And real quick, I don't want to go totally down that wormhole, but that final minute plus in the 98 NBA Finals, when they're down by 3, and Jordan just takes, I think it was Byron Russell to the rack, and just takes him to the rack for 2 to cut the lead to 1. Then Jordan gets the steal on Malone, and then Jordan hits the game winner after giving Russell a little push. Do you get a better sequence from an iconic player to stamp why he's an iconic player than that, minute 20 of Michael Jordan right there?
If you were making a movie on his life, I don't think you could script a moment better than that.
Now, it was, and here's the thing, too. What makes makes that game even, Jordan scored 45, but Pippen hurts his back.
Sure.
Pippen throws a dunk down early in the game and jams his back, and Pippen kept playing, but Pippen was like 42% of himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Pippen's nowhere near 100%. So Jordan's got to really carry the load there. And he was getting tired late in that game. He was missing shots short. And then that last minute 20. He just says, screw it, I'm taking you to the basket. Stop me. You can't. Lead gets cut to 1. He gets the steal on Malone because Malone's not paying attention.
Yep.
And then he goes down and buries the shot. That's Disney stuff right
yes,
there.
again, you couldn't script it any better. In fact, if you did script, people are like, that's not real. You can't do that.
I hate these movies. They're so unbelievable. But yeah, anyway, just last night that was on again. I'm sitting there just like standing in the middle of the living room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, after the Braves beat the Mets, who metted themselves again last night, I was flipping around and I saw that it was on.
The Mets are in a nice Met streak right now.
10 out of the last 11 after... they had 3-4 game lead in the division 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And once again, someone said, you're the Mets, right?
Yeah, I would say that they're metting at a level we've never seen before.
So anyway, Whit Merrifield announcing his retirement after a nice decade. In the major leagues.
There are hundreds, if not thousands, of guys that would kill for that kind of career that he's had.
Yeah, very solid major league career. Thumbs up to Whit Merrifield announcing his retirement. Also, what's trending is the NBA draft. Obviously, Cooper Flagg will go number 1 overall. And here's the thing about Flagg. We forget something, and I'm seeing a lot of this. Like I saw a guy, one of the breakdowns of Flagg is, he got better creating his own shot, but he's still inconsistent in creating his own shot, and he's got to get better at that on the end to play at the big-time level people expect him to do in the league. And I'm like, I don't disagree, but guess what? He should have been in high school last year.
Yeah, forget about that part.
He's going to get drafted number 1 overall, and he should be a freshman in college.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, he's not Victor Wembanyama. He's not Chet Holmgren. When Chet Holmgren was coming out, he's not to that point yet, but my God, the ceiling is higher than the Bank of America building here.
Sure.
On Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg is a winner. He plays both ends of the court like a demon. He got a lot better offensively from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. To me, I'm not saying Cooper Flagg is going to be an all-time NBA great, but I think if Cooper Flagg keeps going in the direction he's going, you're going to get yourself a hell of a player who's going to be playing in his share of All-Star games.
Is there any chance Dallas screws this up?
Sure, they're Dallas. Sure they are. They're Dallas.
It seems like a no-brainer. Well, duh, of course. But, if I'm a Mavs fan, especially after the Luka deal, there's at least concern in the back of my mind of, God, what could go wrong here?
Yeah. How is Dallas going to overthink the room and do something stupid? So I'll give you one here real quick. It'll be like this. The Dallas Mavericks, with the first pick overall in the 2025 NBA draft, select. I'm trying to find a good one here. Give me a second. No, I want to find a good year. Hugo Gonzalez, Real Madrid.
The soccer player?
The Dallas Brain Trust gets up with the presser. We love the way he plays defense.
We want that on the court. Sure.
Could I see Dallas doing something goofy? Yeah, because after you traded Luka in the fashion you did,
yeah,
anything's possible.
Which, by the way, they need this badly,
yes.
Right? Because, it's still so funny to me. We didn't expect to see the negative blowback of all these people canceling season tickets and all that kind of stuff when we traded Luka, everybody's favorite player. They need a guy that's going to move the needle that gets people excited about the Mavs again.
Well, plus it kind of cleans the stink you left all over the bathroom.
Yes.
And so you get Cooper Flagg. He goes with Anthony Davis. Goes with Kyrie Irving, just signed a new deal. And once Kyrie Irving's healthy in the middle of next year, he's all in. So, yeah, you got to draft Cooper Flagg. First of all, best player in the draft.
Yes, without question.
And number 2, he's going to be learning and developing while he can still help you win right now.
Mm-hmm.
To overthink this room and to do something mavericky and draft the guy from Real Madrid, no, just don't do it. Just be smart.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Be smart, yes. But Cooper Flagg should go number 1 overall, absolutely. We were spoiled by Victor Wembanyama.
Sure.
You have this guy, he's 9 foot tall. He can dribble between his legs and shoot threes and do all this guard stuff while he's, as tall as Lurch from the Addams Family. So you get a little spoiled on that guy, and you're just going to start comparing everybody to that guy. Cooper Flagg's not that guy. Cooper Flagg's like 6'7", 6'8", really a legit 6'8", maybe. So don't even do that. That he's one of one.
Sure.
But Flagg, I think, if he continues to develop and keeps the maturity level he has carried through his entire life to grind, he's going to be a hell of a player.
Yep.
All right, so that's trending the NBA draft. All right, on the halftime show, I got to get to this because this is, if I was an Oakland A's fan, I would be boiling after listening to these comments. We're going to get to them next. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Halftime show till 3. Tyler Head, Kale, Edberg, Terry Ford on the game. We'll be at the Nest tomorrow from noon to 3. Come on out and say hey, say hi, and look at the vast showroom we keep talking to you about when we have a conversation about the Nest with you here on this show. I'm telling you, you can go to thenestshowroom.com. You don't believe me? Go to thenestshowroom.com, look around, then come out in person tomorrow on Gadsden and the Vista. Walk around the showroom. You can see lighting and fixtures and all the great things you could do to your kitchen, your bathroom, plumbing. There's experts everywhere who know what's up. 70 years of experience at the Nest. Come in, check it out tomorrow while we're hanging out, or call 803-978-2025. Set an appointment. Get the right expert on the phone. Say, look, I want to redo the plumbing. Here's what I'm thinking. Okay, come on in. We'll show you all the different things we can do for you. You come to the showroom, you see it, you talk about your budget, and the Nest will make it happen. 803-978-2025. Call the Nest or come out and see us tomorrow on Gadsden in the Vista. We'll be there. Tyler and I broadcasting live from noon to 3. All right, we're talking about what's trending at 2 here on the Halftime Show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, Kale, Ed Bird. We're rolling up till 3 o'clock here on the game. All right, so I thought this was an interesting comment. Steve Spurrier said something that I've heard a couple of other people say as well about Arch Manning. Now, Arch Manning's getting a ton of hype. Was Athlon had him first team preseason All-American?
Well, I'd beg you to find an outlet that's not putting him as one of the best quarterbacks in college football.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's been looked at by a lot of mock drafts as the first quarterback off the board. Even though Arch Manning has started, 3 games, 4?
2,
Last
I
year,
think.
2 was it?
Yeah, I think it was
when
2.
Ewers
and
was hurt.
He's come in other games, but yeah, 2, I think, actual starts.
Steve Spurrier, though, said something. There is a vocal minority on this about, hey, pump the brakes on Arch Manning. Steve Spurrier, on another duly noted podcast, kind of gave you his thoughts about, well, if Arch Manning is so good, why couldn't he blank? Let's hit it. Cut 1, Kale. Kale, cut 1. Hit us up. Thank you, buddy. That's okay. You're good. It'll start soon.
I think most people are picking Texas to win the SEC football.
Most
correct?
people are. I think that is going to be the consensus preseason pick.
They've got Arch Manning already winning the Heisman, too. Yep. And my question is, if he was this good, how come they let Quinn Ewers play all the time last year?
Even though he was hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's still...
And he was a 7th-round pick.
Yes, exactly.
And Arch is going...
and now they're saying Arch is going to be the first pick.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, well, you only have to ask the coach Sark. Yeah, how come you played that one instead of this one? Hopefully he'll say because we thought he was better than that one.
Yeah.
But isn't that why you play one guy and not the other? Unless it's a discipline, and there was no discipline or anything.
You were never hesitant about pulling guys. Putting the guy best
one
guy
guy's struggling, give the other guy a chance.
It's interesting when I've heard that before from people. Well, if Arch was so bleeping good, why couldn't he take your spot? And we've said before, in that Georgia game, if Arch Manning, who comes in for a very ineffective, shell-shocked Quinn Ewers, if Arch Manning comes in that game and leads Texas to a touchdown, Arch Manning is the quarterback the rest of the
Ewers never touches the field again. Because that was his chance. That was his moment. That was his moment.
And he couldn't get it done. And I understand when people say that. But my only pushback on it is this. I think Ewers was Sark's guy.
It seemed that, and the way that Sark talked about him, it kind of confirmed that.
I remember Ewers came back to Texas, obviously didn't do it for free, but came back to Texas when Sark was just starting out, right, basically.
Yeah.
So I think Sark felt a loyalty to Ewers that obviously he didn't have yet for Arch Manning. Now, if you're Sark, you're playing a tightrope here, right?
Yeah.
You want to keep Arch Manning happy because he's your guy in 2025, but you're loyal to Ewers because that matters to Sark, and he thinks Ewers is that grizzled veteran.
And you knew you had the resources to make sure Arch Manning didn't go somewhere.
Right. There's 3 million reasons Arch Manning stays at Texas.
That's not everybody can say that.
No.
So you have a rare opportunity in today's world of college sports to say, hey, I know this guy's not going anywhere. I'm going to play the other guy.
Mm-hmm. And so the point that Spurrier's making, just logically, right? Well, this dude's so good, why couldn't he beat out this other dude who was a 7th-round pick in the NFL draft? Why can't this guy, if he's all this we hear about, take the gig from Ewers?
Sure.
I understand that, but I just think there was... I wonder if we gave Sark some of that Falker truth serum and said, okay, which quarterback's better? Would you be surprised if he said Arch Manning's better, but I had to play Ewers because I was loyal to him?
No, probably not. I don't think so.
I think it's an interesting dynamic back and forth on the conversation that we'll never know unless we give Sark the truth serum. See what he would actually say. All right, another interesting football moment yesterday. I think everything happens on the Pat McAfee show now, I swear. We seem like we pull everything from the Pat McAfee show.
He gets everybody. Now he has to pay some of these people, but yes, everybody loves the Pat McAfee show.
One of the guys he's paying is Aaron Rodgers, who, by the way, shaved. Kind of looked weird. Haven't seen Rodgers clean-shaven in a minute.
Well, he's been hiding out in his, darkness hut for however many months.
And by the way, with the Steelers, I guess, shave that up, Aaron.
That's true. I think they have a little bit of a standard there.
Clean that up, Aaron. Get that crap off your face.
I don't know. Keitzel had a nasty beard back in the day.
Yeah, that's true. It's the thing about, but with Rodgers, look, beards are great. I guess I'm jealous because I can't grow one.
Yeah, sure.
I can do 5 o'clock shadow. That's about it. I can't grow a beard.
I can do about what's on my face right now.
Yeah, I'm not a beard. I just can't grow one. I wish I could. I'll grow like a patch under my eyeball or something.
I think Kale's got his beat.
Yeah, absolutely. I hate Kale. Look at that. Look at that beard. I can't. By the way, Kale. Okay. So let me get a little side story here, and then we'll get back to this. So Kale meets our market manager, Tammy, today.
Yes.
Kale isn't under, because Tammy asked him about, because Kale's wearing a Kansas football shirt right now.
Right.
Tammy was like, did you root for Kansas? You go to Kansas? No, I just collect college football.
Because he's a sicko like the rest of us.
And so she goes, do you have any North Carolina? And he goes, no, I don't have a North Carolina shirt. She goes, oh. I have a quarter zip. She's like, oh, that's great. Now, I want to ask you this.
Okay.
If
All
someone goes out of their way to ask me about if they have North Carolina gear, either they're a fan of North Carolina or they went to North Carolina.
Most
correct?
likely, yes.
What school would you not bring up next if you figure out someone's a North Carolina fan?
Probably Duke.
Yeah, Kale goes, I got a Duke shirt.
Well, it was nice knowing you.
Good knowing you, Kale. Nice work. It's your last day. Edberg, take the board. All right, anyway, back to this. Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show. Is this going to be his last season? Redeem yourself, Kale. Hit cut 2.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is it. That's why we just did a 1-year deal. Steelers didn't need to, put any extra years on that or anything. So, this was really about finishing with a lot of love and fun and peace for the career that I've had. I mean, I played 20 freaking years. It's been a long run, and I've enjoyed it. And what better place to finish than in one of the cornerstone franchises of the NFL with Mike Tomlin and a great group of leadership and great guys in the city that expects you to win.
All right, so last year that's not a stunner.
No. 1-year deal. Again, is he 42, 41 now? I think maybe 42 by the time the season starts. We saw this coming.
Yeah, it's not a surprise. I think if he had a really good year last season, the Jets make the playoffs, he might have walked out after last year. I think he just can't end with that nasty taste in his mouth.
No, and again, he wasn't terrible last year. I do think his stats are a little skewed because they were playing from behind a lot, which can lead to more touchdowns, more passing yards.
I just think that thing was such a disaster team-wise.
Yeah.
That you don't want to end like that.
Yeah, and again, you're going to an organization you're guaranteed to most likely be over 500. You probably got a decent shot of being a wild card team in the playoffs. So, you're going to go out with a decent squad more likely than not.
And look, he says, oh, what better place? I know you've got to say these things. And Pittsburgh is a phenomenal franchise. It's been for a long time. Even without a quarterback, they still find a way to get in the playoffs and then get beat.
Yep.
But they get in the postseason. But here's my question. All right, from what we understand, the Vikings kicked the tires, even though they're going with J.J. McCarthy. The Giants were interested, but if you're Aaron Rodgers, why in the love of God do you want to go there?
I wouldn't.
And then the Steelers. Out of those 3 teams, which one would you pick if you were Aaron Rodgers?
Obviously what the Vikings did last year is very enticing.
But you might have to. There's no guarantee you're going to start.
There's no guarantee you're going to start. So yeah, in terms of walking in and being able to be handed the reins of the quarterback position, yes, Pittsburgh made the most sense.
The combination of everything made the playoffs last year, even with a lot of problems at quarterback and on offense. Made the playoffs, and it is an iconic franchise. And you're going to play for a guy who, as a head coach, never had a losing season, and you're going to get to start.
Yeah.
So that checks all the boxes.
And again, Pittsburgh's defense is always good. So if you can have a solid to good offense, then you guys should be able to win probably the majority of your games.
Well, what's interesting is that really only 3 teams were seriously even kind of sort of interested.
Yeah. Because again, this isn't MVP Aaron Rodgers.
You're not getting that.
If this was 2020, then yeah, we're having a different conversation.
And I think where the league sees Aaron Rodgers, that tells it all right there.
Yeah.
There wasn't a team that said, screw our quarterback, we're going to get Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers is better. You had 3 teams that were in certain situations needing a quarterback, whether to back up a young one or to take over the reins because they were desperate. That's the people looking at Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
All right, I've got one more I'm going to get before I get out here. I didn't get to play because it's. I'll talk about it.
Okay.
The A's owner spoke.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, the A's owner spoke. Somebody needs to glue his mouth shut. All right, this day, the greatest day in the history of the world. Next on the game. Greatest day in the history of the world, June 25th. A couple old school pops for you. On this day in 1921, Tyler, Jock Hutchinson wins the British Open, an American winning the British Open. I'm just using this because I like the name Jock.
I was going to say, if you have that as your, I'm assuming that's a nickname.
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. But yeah, if you have that kind of name, you got to be successful.
Yeah, Jock Hutchinson, his real name was Jack Falls Hutchinson. Falls was his middle name.
Falls is also a cool name.
Yeah.
Also, I love this picture. He's got the,
I know.
Are they, what do you call those? Would those be
the knickers? The
knickers,
yeah,
and then he's got a lung dart hanging out of his mouth.
That's what I love. I thought the same thing. Knickers.
That's
and a cancer stick.
That's a man right
that
there.
Is. That's a man in the early 1900s. You gotta have a heater.
Yes. Well, they were healthy back then.
Yeah. Well, they were good for you.
Well, you ever come across those old cigarette ads? Like 9 out of 10 doctors recommend Marlboros.
It's so funny. They'd be like, it's like, hey, feel a run down? Have a smoke.
It's like, doctor, I need to lose weight. Here's a pack.
I'm just not feeling like myself.
Yeah. There you go.
There you go, dude. Have a Marlboro.
How many cigarettes do you smoke a day? 12 and up. That's 40.
Not enough.
We need a whole carton. Let me know how that works out for you.
My dad. My dad just liked the bottom of the carton and suck the top and be done with it. That was my old man. And my old man would go, but I ain't inhaling. Yeah, okay, whatever, Bob. Whatever.
He's doing it the healthy way.
Exactly. So Jock Hutchinson, this day in 1921, wins the British Open. This day in 1948, Joe Louis knocks out Jersey Joe Walcott to defend his heavyweight championship. Louis announced his retirement after the fight. Joe Louis only lost 3 times in his career, like 66-3.
Mm-hmm.
Was looked at as the greatest heavyweight of all time for a period. I mean, to me, I never saw Joe Louis fight, obviously, and I never saw Muhammad Ali in his prime. But of all the people I know that are true boxing heads will say there was never a greater heavyweight than Muhammad Ali, especially in his prime before he got banned because he wouldn't go in the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
What he did before that, and if you watch some of those old highlight reels in black and white, here's a heavyweight dancing on his toes, throwing jabs.
Yep.
And the skills of Muhammad Ali were unbelievable.
Yeah.
But Joe Louis was...
I say, because back then heavyweights were slow, plodding. They were not thought of as the athletic type.
They weren't in there dancing and bobbing and weaving and jabbing and all.
Whoa. I mean, what are you with feet there?
Right, stop that. Come on. And then you would get these guys, fight like a man. What, the fact you can't hit me? Because I'm too quick?
Because I'm over here and over there and over here and over there.
Exactly. But Joe Louis was also, there are people who will push back on Joe Louis, say, no, Joe Louis was the greatest ever. But Joe Louis, on this day, knocked out Jersey Joe Walcott and then retired. Louis fought a couple times, because you saw a lot of this in boxing, people stealing money.
Yeah.
Some of these guys weren't, they were great boxers, might even be really smart guys out of the ring, but they aren't financial wizards.
Is there a sport with that handles its money worse than boxers do?
No, every sport's got those horror stories about money, but I think if you go by per athlete, like per capita, boxers have it the worst.
Yeah, probably so. And boxing for the longest time, and maybe at some of the lower levels still, is a very shady sport in a lot of ways. Like, hey, I promised I was going to pay $100. Well, I skipped town before your fight was over, so I don't have to pay anything.
Exactly. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, exactly.
You're a boxer, but that's okay. Got to catch me first.
You can't catch me. You don't know what state I'm in.
Right. Also, sticking in boxing, my favorite boxer ever on this day won the junior middleweight championship, Sugar Ray Leonard. This day in 1981, won the WBA junior welterweight title. That was a huge Sugar Ray Leonard guy. He's from Palmer Park, Maryland. Love Sugar Ray Leonard. And Sugar Ray Leonard won the middleweight title this day in 1981. I will say this. I love Sugar Ray Leonard. He was my favorite fighter ever. But I can sit and say that when he fought Marvin Hagler, he won the decision because he was very strategic in that fight. But he didn't beat Marvin Hagler like you need to beat a champion.
Yeah.
He outpointed him. He out-strategized him. But he didn't pound Marvin Hagler.
It was a convincing win.
Right. And as much as I love Sugar Ray Leonard, I see why Marvin Hagler said, you stole my title.
Yeah.
I'm done with you guys. I'm going to go act in Europe in action movies. But Sugar Ray Leonard on this day wins the middleweight championship. This day in 1988, Cal Ripken plays his 1,000th consecutive game. We know how that ended up. Someone said to me, if Cal Ripken doesn't break Lou Gehrig's streak, is he in the Hall of Fame? I said, yeah, he's got 3,000 hits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame. Duh.
That's what the streak is what comes to mind first. But yes, he still had a really good career.
And people forget that he played shortstop.
I say they probably don't want him to start that many games if he's not that high level of a player.
Right. I mean, yes. There are people who will say that. I'm like, no, he had 3,000 hits in his career. Yeah, he was a really good offensive player early in his career, and he only had like maybe 1 or 2 years of that level as his career moved on. But if you take those numbers in totality, yeah, he's a Hall of Fame player.
Sure.
Even without the streak. All right. Also, greatest day in the history of the world. We keep moving on. 1997 on this day in the NBA draft, Tim Duncan of Wake Forest taken first overall by the San Antonio Spurs. I think that turned out okay.
Turned out pretty good.
What a player. Honestly, I would say Tim Duncan is one of the 10 greatest players of all time. And he might be the most underrated NBA player of all time. Underrated great player.
Yep.
Because Tim Duncan was boring. Off the court, he was boring.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing it. He wasn't Dennis Rodman in the middle of the NBA Finals, go off and hang out with Hulk Hogan and be at WrestleMania or hang out with the NWO or whatever. Duncan was boring, but he was lethally efficient and productive as a basketball player. Phenomenal player. This day in 1997, the NHL approves expansion franchises for Nashville, Atlanta, Columbus, and Minnesota St. Paul. Why they keep giving NHL franchises to your hometown is beyond me.
Another one's coming.
Just beyond me.
So that they can lose it to Canada in another 8 to 10 years.
Saskatoon?
Yeah.
Maybe Saskatoon gets a team?
Sure, why not? Who needs a team?
Why not? Who in Canada wants a team? All right, 1999, San Antonio wins the NBA championship, beating the Knicks in 5 games. By the way, Game 5, 78-77.
Mm.
I said this what was yesterday or the day before. Look, I'm not one of those guys who, that 90s basketball. Look, I'd rather watch entertaining basketball. The basketball of today, the space and pace and the ball movement and the player movement, I love that stuff. Yeah, they shoot a little bit too many threes for my taste, sure, but everything else about it I really enjoy.
Sure.
I did not enjoy 78-77 NBA games. It was awful. Awful. This day in 2008, Oklahoma power forward Blake Griffin was drafted first overall by the LA Clippers. Weird career. Early, Blake Griffin was an all-star, putting up big numbers, winning slam dunk contests and competitions, and he started to get hurt and started to break down. But Blake Griffin, for a while, hell of an NBA player.
Yeah.
And the Clippers were winning, and they were in the playoffs. It was Chris Paul and Blake Griffin and those guys. And then Blake Griffin just started to get hurt. But Blake Griffin, for a while there, was a nice NBA player.
He's a good podcaster now.
That's what I've heard. I haven't listened to it.
I
Have you
listened to some
listened
of
to
his
any of it?
stuff. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Pretty good?
He's good. Good storyteller, well-spoken. Yeah, not bad.
I can believe that. He was a really good player at Oklahoma in college. All right, also greatest day in the history of the world. 2015, Kentucky center Karl Anthony Towns is picked first overall by the Minnesota Timberwolves. I get it. I understood. Towns has been a really good offensive player in the NBA. Plays defense when he feels like it. One of the most famous moments to me is when Jimmy Butler basically called him out. Him and Andrew Wiggins had said, like, I can't play here. I can't win with these two.
Mm-hmm.
These two just don't care enough. Which was an indictment of 2 very highly drafted players. And Wiggins went on and was a key part of the last Golden State championship. And Karl Anthony Towns he was really good with the Knicks last year. Still not a defender, but
sure.
Karl Anthony Towns taken first overall on this day in 2015. Final one. 2017, Jordan Spieth needs an extra hole and an amazing final shot to win the Travelers Championship. A guy everybody thought was going to just pile up majors and pile up majors. I think it was the Masters where he went,
Yep.
Hadn't been the same golfer since.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's won 1 major since that, but not the same golfer. All right, it's a great day in the history of the world. Coming back, we will roll off to our Firehouse Sub Text the Hour and also do our handoff with Little Pigs on Alpine with Jay Phillips in the post-game show, which is coming up next here on The Game. All right, Firehouse Sub text the hour. We'll do our handoff with our buddy Jay Phillips from the postgame show. Can I just get this cut out of my system real
Yes,
quick?
go ahead, please.
All right, Kale. Want to get cut 3. This is the owner of the A's, John Fisher, talking about what kind of a moment it is to get a new stadium in Vegas.
You know, these projects, they probably look like they happen pretty quickly, but the reality is incredible amount of work and time and effort and so many people's involvement to even bring us to today. And 3 years from now, you know, you'll see the fruits of all of that labor when in 2028 we have opening day out here on the Las Vegas Strip. It's an epic moment for our 124-year-old franchise.
I hate to be this way, but I just, as long as that man owns that team, I hope he gets nothing but misery.
Yeah, and how long has he owned them? 10 years? How long has it been?
Yeah,
it's not that long.
It's not been that
talk
long.
about all that history.
Well, it's not like he's got a lot of money, Jay, where he could have helped front a stadium in Oakland for that fan base.
He made a really concerted effort here.
He tried hard, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's only he only has bazillions of dollars from Levi's and all that, right?
It's
Fisher?
Gap.
Gap, that's what
Gap.
it was.
Old Navy.
John Fisher.
Banana Republic.
Tell you what, though, boy, I tell you, the minute they left Oakland, he started spending money on players. You notice that?
Yeah.
Scumbag.
No, it's not cool.
Scumbag. I've said this, and I know this is one of my things, like you are about minor leagues. And I'm like this. This will never happen because they're all in the same good old boy network. There should be something you sign in Major League Baseball because there's no cap, there's no floor. If you don't invest money in your team to win games, you are going to be forced to sell the franchise.
I would like to think that at some point in a new CBA, the players would fight for a floor.
Don't you? Yes.
Yeah, because the players will never vote for a cap.
No.
And I think the owners would say, oh, if you want a floor,
then we need a cap. Right.
So that's why you don't have it.
No,
because as you know, the Major League Baseball Players Union is without question the strongest of the
two groups will make sure those things never happen in baseball, even though they should. Big market teams and the players.
Yeah.
Those are
the Yankees and Dodgers and Cubs don't want you telling them what to do with their, and the Giants.
And they like their advantage. They like their financial advantage over the small market
It's
teams.
funny, the Rangers spend a lot of money. They're not as big as those other markets, but Dallas is a big city. The Rangers spend a lot of money. They finally got their title.
Yeah. Well, they didn't spend money wisely.
Right. And the Cubs have a lot of money. They've just rarely spent it well.
And that's the funny thing is the worst thing in baseball is the big market team, the big markets with teams who don't spend the money they should be spending, like the Cubs. Even the Red Sox at times get cheap.
Yeah.
But if you got it, you should spend it. But they don't. They don't at times. The Mets at times have been looked at as a team that's cheap. Not anymore with that goof. But
did the Mets win last night, Tyler?
No, they
who
did
won
not.
that game?
In fact, I think they meted to a level we haven't seen yet before.
They're metting really well right now.
They're metting pretty bad right now.
Yeah, they are. They're metting pretty well right now.
5 straight, man.
Yeah, I know you guys.
Speaking of five runs in the top of the 6th inning.
You guys are
Wait,
bummed.
is it? They're played right. Why is it not on in here? What the heck? All right, I'll change
we're
it.
watching the College World Series for the 10th time.
Must be.
All right, Firehouse Up text the hour real quick, my friend. 803-404-6100.
Orlando Bruce says, question though, are there actually any A's fans left?
Ooh,
now probably not.
Because you're.
How great was it when that fan base showed up at the end of the year?
For 1 day.
How great was that? That was beautiful.
When I was growing up, I mean, the A's, 3 titles in the 70s, 3 straight World Series in the 80s. I mean, they were good in the early 80s.
And the Billy Martin teams that made the playoffs.
Yeah, they were good, man.
And those people came to that crappy ballpark.
They play at 7 tonight, by the way.
Okay.
It's not a
What do you got today on the postgame show?
Chad Holbrook is going to talk about Whit Merrifield, and we're going to talk a lot of CMB draft.
That is Jay and Elijah next on the postgame show. Ed, Kale, nice work.